Chapter 38. Gu Fei felt the resistance on the girls' faces, but he didn't think too much about it. After all, this group of girls always treated him like this. He took a few steps forward and was about to talk about the information he had gathered, but the moment he opened his mouth, he let out a merciless burp. The smell of alcohol permeated the air, and the girls let out hissing sounds as if they were avoiding the plague. Sorry. Gu Fei covered his mouth and laughed awkwardly. Okay, everyone disperse first. July clapped her hands. Sigh. Gu Fei said he still had something to say, but seeing everyone quickly fleeing, he didn't say it and only let out a deep sigh. Sigh, do you have something to say? Luo Luo noticed Gu Fei's expression and stopped. At this time, there were only 3 people left in the room. July was always the last to leave the guild, and little Yu was still over there knocking on the treasure chest. This time, the guild quest we received should be the kind that goes both ways. Gu Fei told her about the situation he learned from Brother Yu. The two listened quietly, and July nodded. I know this, I'm not mistaken. Our quest is indeed to find the treasure chest. Gu Fei was startled. Someone is deliberately messing with us, not wanting us to complete the quest. July said. Oh. Do you know who the other party is? Gu Fei asked. If you don't know, then I can tell you. This was Gu Fei's unspoken words. Unfortunately, July nodded. Unhindered. Oh. Everyone knows. Gu Fei was a little disappointed. After all, he had gone out for nothing. The other party had already found out the news. I'm afraid this matter won't end here. Qianli, you have to be careful outside in the future. July said, and looked up and down at Gu Fei. Oh, you're not wearing the guild badge? That's fine, they definitely wouldn't think that there's a guy in my guild. July's smile looked very forced. What's going on? Gu Fei was puzzled. Reigning 4 seas. This guild has a conflict with us in the past. This quest is probably their revenge. So everyone be careful. July said. Oh, got it. Gu Fei glanced at little Yu, who was still hugging the treasure chest and fiddling with it. It seemed that she wouldn't stop until she smashed that thing into pieces. Then I'll be leaving. Gu Fei bade farewell to the other 3 and left the guild. Watching Gu Fei walk out, Luo Luo glanced at July. You're not going to tell him about that? Forget it, he doesn't need to know. He's just a temporary member, it's better not to get involved. July said. Luo Luo was very worried. I really didn't think that there would be such a coincidence. That person was also born in Cloud City like us. July was silent for a long time, then suddenly said. Luo Luo, in the current mercenary group, is there anyone with outstanding strength? You want to find outsiders to help? Luo Luo was a bit surprised. July sighed. With our current situation, we really can't compete with them. Don't forget the original reason you created this guild. You just wanted to gather a few girls who also like online games to play a simple game together. Luo Luo said. Now things have changed, haven't they? July smiled bitterly. Who would have thought that there would be such a coincidence? There are so many main cities in the game, but this guy just happened to be born in the same city as us. I'm afraid this game won't be simple again. Now that there are so many girls following me, I have to think of a way to get through this first hurdle first. Luo Luo didn't say anything. Mercenary group. I don't think there's a mercenary group that can compete with the #1 guild in Cloud City right now. If it's not possible, then find a few more. July said. I know you're not afraid of spending money. Luo Luo smiled bitterly. The problem is, mercenary group. I know a powerful one. Little Yu suddenly said. July and Luo Luo were startled. The two were so focused on discussing that they forgot that there was a girl playing with a treasure chest next to them. Little Yu, you know. July laughed. What could this muddle-headed girl remember? I heard about it when I was doing solo quests. It's a quest to capture the bandit leader Suo Tuesday. This quest was completed by someone who asked for this mercenary group's help. Little Yu said seriously. July and Luoluo looked at each other. Capturing the bandit leader Suo Tu was currently considered to be the most difficult quest that could be received, but it was impossible to complete. Just by entering Black Dragon Cave, they had to start killing monsters that were higher level than them. Normal characters would be lucky if they could last 5 minutes. A while ago, they heard that someone gathered a large group of people to fight together. They persisted all the way until they saw the boss, but in the end, they were all slaughtered and sent back to the city. From then on, no one dared to try again. Did they complete this quest? When was it? Luoluo asked. Completing such a difficult quest should be big news, but she hadn't heard of it at all. I think it was yesterday. Little Yu replied. Oh. Luoluo was relieved. So it was yesterday. Then the news probably hadn't spread yet. What mercenary group is it? July began to feel that there was a chance. This mercenary group seemed to be very strong. As long as it wasn't a mercenary group raised by 4 Cs, it would be fine. I forgot. Little Yu said. How many people? Who's the leader of the mercenary group? July asked again. Little Yu thought hard. Forget it, forget it. Luoluo laughed. Don't ask Little Yu, I'll go ask around. Go. July's face was solemn. This mercenary group had become their biggest hope. In Cloud City, Gu Fei was strolling around while pondering over a problem. July said that there was a grudge between them and 4 Cs. For them to go out of their way to mess up a small quest, this grudge must be quite serious. Looking at July's expression, it seemed that she didn't want to say too much, so Gu Fei didn't pursue the matter. The parallel world hadn't been in operation for too long, so it didn't seem to have created much hatred. This grudge must have happened in the game, or maybe it happened in real life. Gu Fei wanted to ask Brother Yu again, but he remembered that he had just asked him a few minutes ago. If he went back in the blink of an eye, he would be a bit embarrassed, so he held back. Thinking about how July and the others gathered information, Gu Fei felt that he needed to learn it, so he left the game. After logging into the search website, Gu Fei didn't know where to start. He typed in July, and the search results were obvious. Then he accidentally typed in Luoluo's name, Heartless Fallen Flowers, and a novel-like experience in the game appeared before Gu Fei's eyes. In this story, Heartless Fallen Flowers was just a side character, a person who did odd jobs in the main plot. There were 2 main characters, one was July Wildfire, and the other was called Non-Smiler. Non-Smiler actually loved to laugh. The opening of the novel shocked Gu Fei, and he couldn't help but feel that writers nowadays were too talented. Gu Fei wasn't here to appreciate novels, so after a quick browse, he understood the whole story. This was a story of love and hate, lies and truth, deceiving and being deceived. It was a very common story. In the story, July was passionate and generous, but in the end, she was deceived by Non-Smiler and left with nothing. Gu Fei really wondered if this was the calm and collected guild leader July he knew. But the climax of the story didn't end there. After July left the game, another character appeared out of nowhere, using even better methods to deceive Non-Smiler. Rumor had it that this was July Wildfire's rebirth, returning in a more advanced form to take revenge. Non-Smiler, who was filled with hatred, finally chose to leave. After all, it was an online game, and the story ended there. But now, in the parallel world, it seemed like a new chapter had to be written. Gu Fei guessed that the person July had a grudge with was this Non-Smiler. In the game, Luoluo left the guild and came to the tavern for solo quests. There were many types of quests in the parallel world, like the ones that could be randomly picked up on the street. These were called NPC story quests. Once done once, there wouldn't be a second time, and the rewards were more generous. The solo quests that players were talking about were the quests that were refreshed by the tavern system every hour for players to pick up. These quests were limited, First come, first served, but players were allowed to pick them up repeatedly. Using quests to gain experience mainly relied on these solo quests. The quest to capture the bandit leader Suatu was also refreshed here, and was known as the most difficult solo quest at the moment. It was always easier for girls to get information. Luoluo casually asked a few players, but their reactions were the same as when Luoluo first heard about it. They were very surprised that a mercenary group could complete the quest to capture the bandit leader Suatu's day. It seemed that only one day had passed, and the news hadn't spread. Luoluo thought as she left the tavern and came to the mercenary building. There were 2 halls in the mercenary building. The East Hall was where the system released mercenary quests. Most mercenary groups would pick up quests here. The West Hall, on the other hand, was where players sought help. This was the place that reflected the true nature of a mercenary group, taking money and helping people get rid of disasters. Professional mercenary groups would pick up quests here. And the place where one could directly see the strength of each mercenary group was the records of the 2 halls. Luoluo came to the records of the West Hall and patiently flipped through it. Finally, in the completed quests, Luoluo found the words, "Capture the bandit leader Suatu." A mage received this quest, but was unable to complete it, so he went to the mercenary building to ask for help at a high price. The date was yesterday. The mercenary group that accepted this quest was. Luoluo swiped her index finger across the records and found the information she needed: Child Elite Group. Mercenary Leader, Han Family Young Master. Chapter 39. Han Family Young Master. Luoluo mumbled this name. Most experts wouldn't easily change their ID no matter what game they played. This wasn't a habit that only experts had. Many normal players had this preference too. A famous ID would have a lot of rallying power, and this was a huge intangible asset in the game, especially when organizing a guild or a mercenary group. Hearing Little Rain talk about such a powerful mercenary group, Luoluo started to wonder if this group was created by some expert in the game. Han Family Young Master wasn't a legendary expert's ID, but it wasn't the first time Luoluo had seen it. On the official cleric experience leaderboards, it was a very high name. Luoluo, who was also a cleric, obviously noticed it. As she continued to search for information in the record book, Luoluo noticed a line of words. In the description of this quest, there was a final evaluation of the mercenary group by the player who issued the quest. There was only one sentence: Strongest Mage. Strongest Mage. On the current level leaderboards, the number 1 mage was called Drifting. However, in this parallel world, where leveling up required a lot of experience, it wasn't realistic to rely on leveling up to gain an advantage. Equipment and skill proficiency were factors that reflected strength. Therefore, the so-called strongest mage might not be Drifting, who had the highest level. There was no point in guessing, so Luoluo decided to contact this mercenary group first. She opened up her friends list and searched for Han Family Young Master. Seeing that he was online, Luoluo immediately added him as a friend. Hello. Luoluo sent a message. After about half a minute, the other party replied, okay. Child Elite Group? Luoluo asked. That's right. I have something to ask of you. Can we talk face to face? Luoluo asked. Little Ray's bar. Okay, I'll be there soon. Luoluo happily closed the chat window. The Han Family Young Master's neat and tidy writing style left a good impression on her. In her opinion, a person who spoke in such a simple and straightforward manner would definitely not procrastinate when it came to handling matters. Little Ray's bar was famous. Although Luoluo had never been there, she knew where it was. After crossing a few streets, he arrived at the back of Little Ray's bar. In this deserted alley, there was a person lying on the ground. Luoluo hurriedly walked forward. A strong smell of alcohol permeated the air. This person was snoring and sleeping soundly. It turned out that he had drunk too much. Luoluo frowned and ignored him. She took a detour and entered Little Ray's bar. The enthusiastic Little Ray immediately greeted her. Miss, what would you like to order? Oh, I'm looking for someone. Luo said. Who are you looking for? Little Ray was still enthusiastic. Han family young master. Luo answered. At the same time, she looked at the legendary Little Ray strangely. Could it be that he knew all the guests in the bar? However, Little Ray pointed to a private room with a smile, over there. Oh, thank you. Luo was a little absent-minded. She thanked him and walked to the private room over there. Raising her hand to lift the curtain hanging on the door frame, Luo saw a person sitting inside. The Han family young master's fairy-like appearance would amaze anyone who saw it. Luo couldn't help but be stunned for a moment before she asked, Han family young master? Heartless falling flowers? Han family young master asked. Luo nodded. Have a seat. Han family young master gestured and then shouted towards the door, Little Ray. Little Ray answered, What do you want? Put away the table. I'm going to talk business. Han family young master smiled. Little Ray quickly put away the empty glasses on the table. Luo only felt that it was amazing. Little Ray's bar really deserved its reputation. It actually had such a real service model. Was the waiter wiping the table in front of her really the legendary richest man in the parallel world, Little Ray? Another glass of water. Han family young master said to Little Ray. Then he asked Luo, do you want anything? A glass of water too. Luo answered. A pub with water. This was something that other pubs didn't have. Luo wanted to see what the water in this pub was like. The water was soon served. Han family young master picked it up and drank it in one gulp. Luo took a sip and savored it carefully. Water is water. Nothing special. Han family young master smiled. Luo was a little embarrassed and put down the glass. What's the task? Tell me. How many people are there in your mercenary group? Luo wanted to know the situation first. 6 people. Han family young master answered. So few. Luo was very surprised. Elite group depends on quality rather than quantity. Han family young master smiled. Are you the ones who completed the task of the bandit leader Suatu? Luo asked. It's us. Han family young master's pronunciation of us was a little light. It seemed like he didn't have much confidence. Of course, Luo didn't notice this little bit of emotion. She nodded and said, Can you introduce me to you? Han family young master didn't answer. He straightened his body and leaned back. Why don't you tell us what your task is first? If it's not something we're interested in, then I don't think there's a need for me to introduce you. Oh. Then what kind of task would you be interested in? Luo said. It sounds impossible. Han family young master said. Then I'm sure you'll be satisfied with my task. Luo said. Let's hear it. Help us deal with unhindered 4 seas. Luo said slowly. Actually, her expectations for this mercenary group weren't as high as when she first arrived. She didn't expect it to be a small mercenary group made up of 6 people. Even if the 6 of them were strong, the game was still in its infancy. No matter how strong a player was, there wouldn't be too much of a difference between them and the others. Unhindered 4 seas had killed all the girls from Reborn Amethyst. Just from the fact that they were able to do it, it was clear that they were very strong. Even the strongest player in the game couldn't compare to them. Who would have thought that Han family young master's eyebrows wouldn't even twitch after hearing the name of Unhindered 4 seas? Instead, he asked, Is it the strongest guild in Cloud City right now? Luo nodded. They won't be any more soon. Han family young master smiled. What do you mean? Because you bought my mercenary group to deal with them. Han family young master said. Luo's eyes widened. This guy in front of her, now I only need to know one thing. Han family young master said. Luo was a little puzzled. She felt that there were still many things to discuss. Han family young master should at least tell her about their mercenary group situation, right? At the very least, shouldn't they at least tell me about the fees they charge? However, Han family young master's only question was, how do you want me to deal with them? Luo was completely stunned. Her initial plan was to hire a mercenary group. If one wasn't enough, then she would hire a few more. Then, she would discuss it with the girls in the guild. She believed that July had the same plan. But this guy, judging from his tone, he didn't need any external help at all. With just the 6 of them, they could deal with the strongest guild in Cloud City right now. Seeing that Luo was speechless, Han family young master suddenly smiled. Alright, I know what to do. You know. Luo was stunned again. Heartless falling flower. Hee, your main goal is obviously not to laugh. Han family young master said with a smile. This Han family young master wasn't a normal player. Luo concluded that he was at least someone who often fought in the game. That was why he knew about the story of the non-smiler and July wildfire. However, I'm afraid it's not enough to deal with just one non-smiler. How about we clean up all the core members of Reigning the Four Seas? Han family young master asked. Then it's settled. Han family young master stood up and was ready to leave. Wait. Luo called out. Why? That's not enough. Han family young master asked. I want to ask, how are you going to charge? Luo said. This. Let's talk about it after it's done. I'm not afraid that you won't pay. Han family young master smiled. Luo had an idea. Let's talk about it after it's done. Doesn't that mean there's no need to talk if it's not done? Could it be that this guy's previous boasting was just empty words? That he would reply to me after 2 days, saying that the mission couldn't be completed? I'll contact you again. Han family young master said as he walked out of the room. But looking at him, it didn't seem like he was faking it. No matter what, their mercenary group should be very powerful. The fact that they were able to complete the mission was proof. Moreover, it seemed like they had nothing to do with Reigning the Four Seas. She had to think of a way to get their help. Luo stared at the glass of water in front of her. Just as she was thinking, a horrible scream came from outside. Who ordered this? Luo stood up and lifted the curtain. She saw Han family young master yelling at the bar with the bill in his hand. Little Ray was still smiling. He calmly answered Han family young master's question, the sorcerer that was with you. This guy. Han family young master slapped the table, as if that was Gu Fei. Luo quietly walked behind him. She took a glance at the bill and gasped. The most expensive drink in the game, 4 glasses and a bottle, cost about 200 gold coins. This was definitely a huge amount of money. Even if all the players in the tavern piled up their money bags, they might not be able to gather this amount. As expected of the strongest sorcerer. He's really something. Now, can we talk about the fee? Luo suddenly smiled. The young master of the Han family turned around and looked at her. He sighed deeply and said, let's talk inside. Can you introduce me to this sorcerer? Luo asked while walking. Don't mention him in front of me. Han family young master's eyes were filled with murderous intent. What's his name? Luo was persistent. Shameless is his name. Han clan's young master wouldn't say it even if he was beaten to death. Achoo! Gu Fei, who was still thinking about the past between July and Wildfire, suddenly sneezed. Strange, I've been sneezing a lot recently. Gu Fei rubbed his nose and mumbled to himself. Chapter 40. Luo had a satisfied smile on her face as she left Little Ray's bar. Although the Han family young master did not reveal who the members of the mercenary group were, at least she knew that they were a group of powerful level 30 characters. As for the legendary strongest sorcerer, the Han family young master only said one sentence. He challenged the bandit leader, Sutu, alone. In fact, Gu Fei was able to challenge Sudu alone because of a series of coincidences. However, outsiders did not know the intricacies of the story. Just by hearing this sentence, they felt that he was stronger than ever before. Because of this, Luo was full of confidence in this mercenary group, especially in this legendary sorcerer. However, for some reason, the Han family young master refused to reveal the names of the members. This was the only doubt that remained in Luo's heart. Regardless, she had already roped in this group. She was willing to help the Han family young master pay for the sake as the price. Although she did not say that this was the cost of hiring them, it was at least a favor. The Han family young master's narcissism was too obvious. This kind of person would definitely not be willing to owe others a favor. Therefore, Luo was not worried that he would go back on his words. However, the final content of the mission was not to whitewash some characters. That would not solve the root of the problem. Instead, it was to ask reigning 4 Seas to stop causing trouble for reborn Amethyst. It was such a vague goal, but the Han family young master dared to agree to it. "Don't worry, I will make sure that Non-Smiler will not be able to laugh anymore," said the Han family young master to Luo. He did not reveal the specifics of what they were going to do. He only told Luo and the rest to sit back and watch the show. "I hope they can really solve everything." That was what Luo thought. After sending off Luo, the Han family young master immediately started to recruit members. He also wanted to settle the score with Gu Fei. However, when he took a look at his friend list, he realized that Gu Fei was still not online. He was furious. They soon gathered at Little Ray's bar. Sword Demon was carried back by Unscathed in battle. "Why is this guy sleeping behind the tavern?" Unscathed in battle asked. No one knew, but Brother Yu, who knew, held back his laughter. The Sword Demon was obviously drunk. After this torment, he still didn't wake up and continued to sleep soundly in the corner. "What's the mission?" "Tell me," Yutian Xinming said. The Han family young master gave a brief introduction. The story of July's wildfire and Non-Smiler was a well-known story in the online gaming world. Putting Gu Fei aside, veteran players like Brother Yu had heard of it, so it was easy for them to understand the whole story. It's not hard to kill Non-Smiler. The hard part is to make sure that he doesn't dare to cause trouble for reborn Amethyst. We'll have to plan this out. Brother Yu, go find out more about Unhindered and Non-Smiler, Han family young master said. Brother Yu nodded, then looked at Yutian Xinming. "Yutian, are you in Unhindered right now?" "How did you know?" Yutian Xinming was surprised. Everyone's eyes turned to him. Now that they had to deal with Unhindered, there was actually an Unhindered in their party. "Don't look at me like that. I'm just joining a guild for fun," Yutian Xinming quickly expressed his stance. "Today at Yunjiao Lake, Brother Yu, I'm impressed." Yutian Xinming was dumbfounded, as expected of an information specialist. "How do you know everything?" Brother Yu's smile was always so calm. "What's going on?" Han family young master asked. This afternoon at Yunjiao Lake, Unhindered organized to cause trouble for reborn Amethyst. I was there, and I even met Qianli. Qianli? He is with a woman, and that woman seems to be the one who was reborn into the Amethyst. Imperial God Ming said. And then? Don't even mention it. I heard that reborn Amethyst was a female player, but there was no other girl in that afternoon. There were so many of them. I was sniping from afar, and I couldn't deal with it. Then someone circled behind me and kicked me down the hill. I even fainted, and when I woke up, I saw Qianli. I saw that the girl knew Qianli, so I let her have the chest. Yutian Xinming explained. Who hit you? I don't know. I asked Qianli, but he said he didn't see it either, Yutian Xinming said. That's weird. She was already behind you. She could have just killed you. Why was she so kind as to spare your life? The crowd muttered. Lucky. Yutian Xinming sighed. He was quite grateful to the guy who kicked him down the hill instead of killing him. The penalty for dying in a parallel world was very heavy. Players would drop a level, and there was a chance that they would drop items from their body or their pockets. This setting was also for future players. After all, there was only one server in the game. Although the number of players was limited, as the server was upgraded, the game company would definitely think of ways to recruit more players. These new players obviously couldn't stand on the same starting line as the old players. This was a bit of a blow to the enthusiasm of the new players. Therefore, increasing the experience required to level up and increasing the penalty for dying was to prevent the old players from lagging too far behind the new players in terms of level. I heard that the people of Purple Crystal Rebirth were completely annihilated in the afternoon. So it seems that they have succeeded. Ha, the organization didn't reprimand you? Brother, you laughed. Yu Tianxinming's nose immediately became crooked. These guys don't know anything. If I didn't give face to Qianli, would I have let that girl take the chest? Fuck. They said I don't know how to play as an archer. Fuck, I'll leave the guild right now. Wait, don't rush. Han family young master stopped him. What is it? Yu Tianxinming asked. You can stay in unhindered 4 Cs for now. You might be useful in the future. Han family young master said. Spy. Yu Tianxinming mumbled. Alright, that's it for now. Han family young master announced, this mission isn't like those rubbish missions from the system. Everyone pay attention and make preparations. Also, if you see Qianli online, inform him. What about him? Brother, you pointed at Sword Demon who was still snoring in the corner. Wu Shang, where did you find him? Han family young master asked. Behind the tavern. Unscathed in battle said. Fuck, why didn't any passers-by kill him? This trash, he can't hold his liquor so well. He doesn't look like he came from me. Get up, Sword Demon, get up. Han family young master punched Sword Demon's head twice. You two chat. We'll leave first. The 3 couldn't bear to watch anymore and left. That day, Gu Fei didn't go online again. On the next day, he received an emergency call from Han family young master. Gu Fei guessed that he had been exposed. He jogged towards Little Ray's bar with his money bag. He was just joking with Han family young master. He didn't really want to take advantage of him. He rushed to the tavern and lifted the curtain to take a look. All 5 of them were there. Han family young master's eyes were filled with killing intent. Gu Fei felt a chill in his heart. What was the meaning of this? It was just a joke. Did they call all of them to criticize him? Touching his small money bag, Gu Fei said embarrassedly, they're all here. We were waiting for you. Han family young master roared, can't you spend less time under the sun and do more meaningful things in front of the computer? Gu Fei was speechless. What kind of logic was this? Alright, let's not waste time. Sit down and listen to Brother Yu's introduction. Han family young master said. When Gu Fei heard that he didn't mention yesterday's incident, he praised him in his heart. He was a man after all. He didn't fuss over such a small matter. After sitting down, he touched Yu Tianxinming beside him. What do you want to introduce? A new mission. Yu Tianxinming said. Oh. Gu Fei replied. Brother Yu cleared his throat. Non-laughing, this person, what? Gu Fei shouted. Non-laughing? Everyone looked at him. I know this person. Gu Fei hurriedly said. Everyone knows him. What are you shouting for? Han family young master said. Are you afraid that people don't know that we're planning to kill him? Gu Fei hurriedly lowered his voice. Are we going to kill him? Shut up first. I'll listen to Brother Yu. Han family young master didn't mention the money for the drinks, but it was obvious that he was still very emotional towards Gu Fei. Brother Yu cleared his throat again. Non-laughing is an old ID in the online gaming world. I won't talk about his past. I'm sure everyone has heard of it. In this parallel world, Non-Laughing is a rogue. He's currently level 30 and is ranked 11th on the Rogue Experience leaderboard. He's one of the 4 core members of Reigning the Four Seas. Apparently, he relies on strength and his equipment is unknown. Recently, his most frequent leveling spot is the Cloud City west of Cloud City's Cloud Valley. He's usually in a party with other guild members. He's never been alone. Brother Yu paused and continued. Cloud Valley. Monsters are level 40. Sword Demon, you usually grind there, right? The monsters here have high attack and low defense. It's indeed more suitable for high attack and high evasion classes like rogues. Sword Demon nodded and added. Qianli also grinds there. Brother Yu was startled and couldn't help but say, for mages, if they want to grind higher level monsters, Cloud Valley is a better place. The monsters there move slowly and have low magic defense. Mages usually grind there. Oh, I'll go take a look next time. Gu Fei said. Everyone stared blankly at Gu Fei. Brother Yu also calmed down and said, that's all we know. If we want to know more, we'll need more time. That's enough, let's give him a show of strength. Han Family Young Master said and took out a pile of rags from his pocket. He threw it on the table. One for each of us. What's this for? Gu Fei picked up a triangular piece. Cover your face. Han Family Young Master said. Why are you doing this? Gu Fei was startled. This time's mission is different from last time. We're not dealing with dumb computers, but players like us. Appraisal in the game can see your level, class, and equipment, but it can't see your name. So, as long as you cover your face, you can save yourself a lot of trouble. Han Family Young Master said. There's no need for that. The few of them were clearly conflicted. Han Family Young Master snorted coldly. I didn't even tell my employer your names. If any of you think it's unnecessary, then don't wear it. I won't force you. But I have to remind you that as long as one of you doesn't wear it, it'll bring trouble to everyone else. I'm going to wear it. Do as you see fit. After a moment of silence, Sword Demon picked up a piece and stuffed it into his pocket. Unscathed in battle, Brother Yu, and Yutian Shinming also picked up a piece. Gu Fei hesitated again and again. In the end, he felt that he shouldn't drag others down, so he picked up a piece. Why are there 2 more pieces? Gu Fei picked up a piece and found that there were 2 more on the table. Han Family Young Master put away the last 2 and said indifferently, 2 pieces of cloth might not be able to cover my peerless face. Damn! Everyone shouted. Okay, put the chat window on the mercenary group channel. Everyone get ready and head towards Cloud Valley. The 6 members of Young Master's elite group set off once again. Chapter 41. After leaving the tavern, the 6 of them went their separate ways. Sword Demon and Unscathed in Battle said they were going to repair their equipment first, Yutian Shinming was going to replenish his arrows, Brother Yu went directly to Cloud Valley, and Han Family Young Master said, I don't think 2 pieces of cloth are enough, I'll go get another one. Gu Fei went to the auction hall. With dozens of gold coins in hand, Gu Fei was going to buy a suitable weapon. The original white broadsword was very suitable, but it was a pity that this broadsword was an extremely ordinary piece of equipment in the eyes of ordinary players. It was so ordinary that no one would think of selling it in the auction hall. Gu Fei searched around, but naturally, he found nothing. Unlike ordinary players who chose weapons, the first thing Gu Fei paid attention to was the size, specification, weight, and so on of the weapon. These data affected Gu Fei's performance more than the attack of the weapon. Unfortunately, the search engine in the game did not have an advanced search function that could determine these data, so Gu Fei could only refer to the real thing in the exhibition hall one by one. This was undoubtedly a lot more work, so much so that in the chat window of the mercenary group, when the 5 guys said that they had arrived at Cloud Valley, Gu Fei had just found a suitable broadsword in the exhibition hall. Baptism of Fire. The attack was slightly higher than the white broadsword that Gu Fei had used before, and it also had a 30% chance of fire attack damage. This kind of weapon was probably considered useless in the eyes of ordinary players. Because in the setting of the parallel world, the magic damage of equipment would be related to the attributes of the character. The more magic the character had, the higher the magic damage. And characters who often used a broadsword, such as warriors, were born with poor magic, so the magic damage they needed was only the effect brought by magic. For example, the speed reduction brought by freezing damage, the numbness brought by electric shock damage, and so on. There was no additional effect, but the high damage of fire magic was not too valuable. Therefore, such a piece of equipment with a high magic damage rate was priced at 60 gold coins, but no one was interested. For example, the Sword Demon's exquisite dagger, Frostbite Memories, had a 10% chance of freezing. Gu Fei didn't understand so much about the game. He just felt that this weapon's attack wasn't low, and it had a high chance of being enchanted. It was an effective supplement to his low damage, so he bought it without hesitation. "Qianli, how are you?" When the 5 of them arrived at the valley, there was no response from Gu Fei. Therefore, the Han family young master started to ask questions. I'll be there soon." Gu Fei received the flame baptism. The blade was dark red in color, and when he held it in his hand, he felt a slight burning sensation. It was worthy of being a piece of equipment with fire magic. The only regret was that there was no scabbard for this saber. So, Gu Fei stuffed it into his pocket and hurried on his way. Along the way, facing the criticism and urging of the Han family young master, Gu Fei finally set foot on the hot land of Cloud Valley. He had spent countless days and nights here. Gu Fei was inexplicably excited and asked the 5 of them in the chat window, "I'm here. Where are you guys?" With the boulder by the lake as the axis, the broken wooden house in the east is the 12 o'clock direction. "I'm at 1 o'clock, Sword Demon is at 4 o'clock, Yutian is at 6 o'clock, Wu Shang is at 9 o'clock, and Brother Yu is at 10 o'clock. You, find a place to hide and cover your face," said the Han family young master. Gu Fei took out the cloth and tied it to his face. Gu Fei was quite familiar with this area. It was a level 40 training area, and the players were only level 30. There were very few people who could fight monsters 10 levels higher than them, so there wasn't a single person in sight. Gu Fei dove into the forest at the side and hid himself. Don't be in a hurry to act. Wait for the other party to appear and identify their roles. Then, we'll have a clear strategy and defeat them in one move, said the Han family young master. Everyone agreed. What followed was a long wait. The valley was silent. Gu Fei fiddled with his newly bought baptism of fire. He resisted the urge to rush up to the monsters and use them on them. They waited for half an hour, and a few of them couldn't sit still anymore. They questioned in the chat window, "Brother Yu, is your intel correct? Is he leveling up here?" "It's correct." Brother Yu was always confident in his information. Because of his unwavering tone, everyone waited for another 10 minutes, but there was still no one. This time, even he himself couldn't hold back anymore. "Why don't we level here for a while?" Gu Fei was eager to try out his new weapon. "Coming, someone's coming." The Sword Demon sent out a message. Everyone's gaze was focused on the entrance of the valley. A group of people and horses marched in majestically. "Oh, there's quite a lot of people," Yutian Shinming exclaimed. 10. Brother Yu had already started gathering information, looking at their equipment: 2 warriors, 1 mage, 1 archer, 3 thieves, and 3 priests. "Is there anyone whose position I can use appraisal art on?" asked the young master from the Han family. The 4 shook their heads. Gu Fei's answer was unique: "I don't know, identify." Everyone, the 10 of them, had already entered the valley and arrived at the monster farming location. They got into position and were about to start training. "Is there still no one who can get close to appraise?" the Han family young master asked. "I'll try," the Sword Demon said. I was waiting for you to say that. The Han family young master said. The sword demon activated stealth and approached the other party from the middle of the mountain. At the moment, there were no anti-stealth skills that specifically targeted stealth, so the thieves were good at peeping. However, stealth was a skill that would be exposed at the slightest movement. Using identify while stealth would also reveal one's true form. Therefore, the sword demon could only rely on stealth to move closer to the 10 of them. Then, he would find a place to hide and slowly appraise them. The place he chose was the boulder by the lake that the Han family young master used as the axis. When he arrived behind the boulder, the sword demon revealed his true form. Everyone's hearts were in their throats. They were only 2 meters away from the group of people training. If they took 2 steps forward, they would immediately discover the sword demon hiding behind the boulder. Stealth couldn't be used when they were under attack or under any abnormal conditions. For experienced players, it was easy to prevent a thief from using stealth. More importantly, to use identify, one's eyes had to pay attention to the target. At this time, the sword demon was hiding behind the boulder, and his own vision was blocked. If he wanted to use identify, he would have to reveal his head, but he couldn't see the situation outside. How would the sword demon know if he would make eye contact with someone after revealing his head? At this time, Gu Fei finally appreciated the legendary ghost duo Golden Duo in the online gaming world. The far-sighted Han family young master became the sword demon's eyes. He paid attention to the line of sight of the 10 players and gave orders to the sword demon. The sword demon seemed to be under the control of the Han family young master. He accurately grasped 10 gaps and revealed his head perfectly, completing identify 10 times, and presented the results to the chat window. Unhindered was indeed the number 1 guild. Among the 10 leveling party, 8 of them were level 30. Of course, although they were all level 30, there was still a large gap between their experience and that of the top players like the sword demon. Unfortunately, experience didn't help in battle. This was how the parallel world used the setting to close the gap between players. Their levels aren't low, but their equipment is average. Brother Yu looked at the way the 10 players fought and the results of the identify. He began to analyze them one by one. The 2 warriors are hard to kill instantly. It looks like they're both tanky. The mage's weapon isn't bad, and his magic attack is very high, but his defense isn't good. The archer is just following the party to gain experience, so he can be ignored. The 3 priests have average skills, but if they focus on healing the 2 warriors, it'll be troublesome. As for the 3 thieves, those 2 are average. The third one is no smiler. The sword demon's identify failed. It looks like his identify level is higher than the sword demon's. Yeah, sword demon, you hide there first. Han family young master said. The sword demon made an okay gesture in the direction of the Han family young master, then activated stealth and disappeared. Let's take care of the 3 priests first. Brother Yu, what do you think? Han family young master said, and the battle meeting began in the chat window. Yeah, or else those 2 warriors will be too big of a threat. Brother Yu said. However, 2 of the 3 priests are tanky, so it'll be a bit troublesome. Wushang's whirlwind slash can kill 1, but sword demon's backstab and Yutian's snipe probably won't be enough. If they're a bit smarter and use their healing skills to stall for time, we'll be in even more trouble. It looks like it'll be impossible to take care of all 10 at once. Han family young master said. I don't think so. Brother Yu sighed. What about you guys? What do you think? Han family young master asked. Since we can't take them all at once, let's take them down one by one. Gu Fei said. Oh. Everyone waited for Gu Fei to continue. There's a big flaw in their team composition. Gu Fei said. Really? Everyone began to pay attention to the team composition of the 10. The mage has low defense and HP, and the archer is on the weaker side. Gu Fei continued. If we take out the mage, their team basically has no long-range attack ability. Han family young master had already seen through Gu Fei's thoughts. That's right. With Yutian's attack power, he might be able to take out the mage with one snipe. Gu Fei couldn't forget about Yutian Shinming's snipe yesterday. Brother, you calculated the mage's stats again and expressed his affirmation. It'll be an instant kill. Unless, Yutian, you can't hit him. You're kidding. Yutian Shinming was disdainful. Suddenly being sniped by an archer, I think their reaction will be to scatter and find cover. Gu Fei said, taking this opportunity, Sword Demon can sneak over and launch a surprise attack. He can take care of a priest. Not necessarily. Sword Demon said, maybe I can take care of two. But then Sword Demon will be exposed. Yutian Shinming said. Then run. Can any of them catch up to you? Gu Fei said. There's also an archer. Yutian Shinming said. The archer's arrows will undoubtedly run faster than Sword Demon's people. At this time, you can probably launch a second snipe, right? Gu Fei said. So, Gu Fei concluded, as long as we use Sword Demon's stealth and Yutian's snipe, it will be enough to take care of their team. Good idea. Han family young master said, however, our goal is to wipe them out. So, after Sword Demon and Yutian deal enough damage to them, everyone will attack in one go. No problem. Everyone said. Yutian, get ready. Han family young master issued an attack order. Chapter 42. Yutian Shinming got into position and knocked an arrow. The sniper shot an arrow, whistling across the valley, and hit the enemy mage in the head. That's too cruel, why did he shoot the head? He must have played too much Counter-Strike. As the enemy mage turned into a white light, the mercenary group was in a heated discussion. This sudden attack startled the remaining 9 people on the other side. Because the arrow came so suddenly, no one knew where it was coming from. Once a character died in the game, the corpse would return to the resurrection point with an arrow in its head, so it was impossible to deduce where it fell from. But what surprised them was that the remaining 9 fellows did not flee in panic like Gu Fei had guessed. Instead, they very calmly formed a circle with their backs facing each other. They faced all 4 directions evenly, their gazes scanning the mountains closely. Ah, they're well trained. Hiding in the forest, Gu Fei saw that his plan couldn't be carried out after only one step, and couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Rich experience. No wonder Unsmiler is a veteran player. It seems that these people have trained together. They didn't form a random team, the Han family's young master said calmly. What do we do now? Gu Fei asked. Let them play back to back for a while. Yutian, hide well. Han family young master said. Of course, I'll let them know what an archer is today. Yutian Shinming obviously had a deep grudge against reigning the world's disdain yesterday. But Gu Fei's impression of him changed slightly. Yesterday, Yutian Shinming didn't say anything about the treasure chest, and a large part of it was because Gu Fei and Little Yu knew each other. Knowing that Yutian Shinming was being looked down upon, Gu Fei's first thought was that this damned kid would definitely vent his anger on him. But now, it seemed like this kid didn't have that kind of mentality. It seemed like this damned kid was also a generous person. Just like that, the 6 of them quietly watched the 9 people form a circle. Bored to death, the Han family young master asked a question, comrades, if we were to encounter such a situation one day, how would we handle it? Hide in the forest. The answer was almost unanimous. Not bad. So, Comrade Qianli, be careful. As soon as the Han family young master finished speaking, the 9 people in the circle did not move after waiting for a long time. As expected, they started to move towards the forest in a circle formation. Yutian, is the cooldown for your sniper rifle ready? Asked the Han family young master. It's been done for a long time, Yutian replied. Alright, everyone get into position. Attack. The Han family's young master suddenly gave the order. Another whistling arrow tore through the air, and without missing its target, it instantly killed the lowest-leveled archer of the reigning the 4 seas. However, this arrow also exposed Yutian Shinming's position. Over there. A warrior beside the fallen archer shouted. The remaining 8 people gave up on the idea of entering the forest, and strode towards the direction of Yutian Shinming's ambush on the hillside. At this time, the sword demon drilled out from behind a rock. However, in stealth mode, his movement speed was greatly reduced, and he was completely unable to catch up to any of the opponents who were running at full speed. Seeing the opponents flash past in front of him one by one, the sword demon did not even have a chance to get close to them. When all 8 of them had their backs facing him, the sword demon simply dispelled stealth mode and used the thief's level 30 skill, Swift. His movement speed was not slow to begin with, but in an instant, his speed increased by 15%. In a jog, he rushed behind the last of the 8, the cleric. Amidst the sounds of footsteps, the cleric finally heard something strange behind him. However, before he could turn around, the sword demon had already stabbed his waist with backstab. Ah! The cleric let out a scream. Just as Brother Yu had said, the sword demon's backstab was not enough to cause an instant kill to this level 30 cleric. This cleric was also very experienced. After being attacked, he immediately cast a healing spell on himself. The second attack from the sword demon pulled out his dagger and arrived at the same time as the cleric's healing spell. After one attack, the cleric still did not fall. The sword demon's heart was cold. If these 2 attacks did not kill him, then there would be no chance. The other party had already discovered him, and when the 2 clerics cast their healing spells, would he still have a chance? Just as he was thinking about this, he suddenly heard 2 whooshing sounds. The cleric had fallen with another, ah. In the flashing white light, the sword demon saw 2 arrows stuck in his back. Looking into the distance, Yutian Shinming stood tall on the hillside, his right arm raised high, and made a V gesture at him. Archer's level 24 skill, double strike. The sword demon smiled, raised his arm, and gave a thumbs up to Yutian Shinming. Then, he quickly retreated. You 2 go take care of that archer, someone on the other side ordered. The 2 thieves nodded and simultaneously activated the thief's level 30 skill, quickness. They quickly ran towards Yutian Shinming. Wow! So fast! Yutian Shinming did not bother to shoot and broke into a run. If the 2 thieves rushed in front of him, then he really had no way to survive. Wushang, Brother Yu, support Yutian. The Han family young master also ordered. Got it, Yutian, the wooden house at 9 o'clock. Brother Yu said. The remaining 3 warriors, 2 clerics, and 1 thief on the other side, at this time, aggressively rushed towards the sword demon. The thief also used the level 30 skill, quickness, and quickly rushed towards the sword demon. At the same time, he shouted to the 2 priests behind him, don't let him go into stealth. The 2 priests immediately used the pitiful priest skill, which was also the only attack skill they knew, Holy Light Ball. 2 pure white balls of light were summoned as the 2 chanted, but the experienced sword demon had already activated stealth after giving Yutian Shinming a thumbs up and retreated. At this time, he had already disappeared. The 2 pure balls of light could only be helplessly thrown into the air. Damn! The thief who tried to come up and fight the sword demon was flustered and exasperated. Be careful. He reminded the 4 people behind him while also retreating to the team. At the same time, he shouted into the air, who the hell are you people? Ah ah! The answer to him was 2 screams. The thief quickly turned his head to look. In the distance, the 2 thieves chasing Yutian Shinming were about to catch up to Yutian Shinming. They didn't think that a warrior would come out from behind the wooden house. His body had already been blessed by the night. With a loud roar, he used the most visually destructive skill in the game, Whirlwind Slash. The 2 bandits didn't expect that there would be someone intercepting them on their way. At this moment, they couldn't dodge in time and were firmly spun by Zhan Wushang's Whirlwind Slash. Imperial Divine Cry also shot a few arrows from behind to add fuel to the fire. In just a few moments, the 2 bandits were already dead. Another person came out from behind the broken house. In his hand was a knight's common weapon, a scepter, and he patted unscathed in battle. The three walked side by side, quickly rushing over to this side of the battlefield. In the blink of an eye, half of the 10 leveling party had already been killed. Anyone's heart would palpitate. "Who the hell are you people?" the thief roared. He didn't want to answer, but he screamed again. Among the 5 people who were gradually shrinking to form a circle again, one of the priests was once again backstabbed by Sword Demon. The other party had been carefully guarding against the attack. As soon as he was attacked, he had already started chanting a healing spell. Unexpectedly, this time there was no chance at all. After being backstabbed by Sword Demon, the priest fell directly. Critical. As a fellow thief, he knew the maximum power of a thief's backstab at this current level. He also knew how much his partner's HP and defense were. To be able to instantly kill him with a backstab, it must have triggered the critical rate, and the critical rate was not low. Of course, this was also one of the reasons why Sword Demon chose the priest who added all points in wisdom among the 3 of them this time. It was too late for Sword Demon to pull out and retreat. The other party was originally in the encirclement, so they took advantage of the situation and surrounded him. "Kill him." The thief gave the order and rushed forward with a dagger in his hand. At the same time, his eyes fell on the dagger in Sword Demon's hand. This was obviously a sharp weapon with a critical attack. It was an absolute superb item. It would be great if it dropped. Trapped in a tight encirclement, Sword Demon did not dodge or evade. Instead, he stubbornly stabbed the last enemy warrior. In the distance, Yutian Shinming had also launched a rescue. A sniper shot whistled again, aiming directly at the target of Sword Demon's attack. Unscathed in battle and Brother Yu chased after the arrow and rushed over in big strides. "No matter what, this guy is dead for sure." With this thought in mind, the other party's attack had already greeted Sword Demon. When they confidently thought that Sword Demon was about to fall, a white light fell on Sword Demon almost at the same time as their attack. On the other hand, Sword Demon was completely focused. He gritted his teeth and stabbed the warrior in front of him. The opponent's priest thought that Sword Demon would definitely die under the attack of the 4 people. He didn't think about healing his warrior at all. He was summoning the holy light orb to experience the fun of killing the enemy. The warrior fell to the ground under 2 consecutive attacks from Sword Demon and a sniper shot from Yutian Shinming. Sword Demon rushed out of the encirclement, and a white light fell on him in an instant. Sword Demon turned around and held the dagger in his hand across his chest. He looked really incomparably fierce. The other party was completely stunned. It seemed like it was just 2 healing spells, but the timing was so precise that it was hopeless. Thieves were not a profession with high HP. Under the joint attack of 2 warriors and 1 thief, just 1 hit from each was enough to make Sword Demon's HP drop to the bottom. But the wonderful thing was that the opponent's priest used a healing spell. If Sword Demon was allowed to take these 3 attacks, then Sword Demon would be dead before he could recover. Therefore, the priest released the healing spell in the small gap between the 3 attacks and used this gap to recover Sword Demon's HP. It was equivalent to increasing the upper limit of Sword Demon's HP, allowing him to take 3 attacks. This healing spell had no effect whether it was early or late. It was only at this moment that it could save Sword Demon's life. This was definitely not something an ordinary player could achieve. The 3 of them looked back and saw a priest standing not far away. He was using the 3rd healing spell to completely restore Sword Demon's HP. "Who are you?" The other party threw out this question for the 3rd time. "Stupid. Can't you see that we all have our faces covered? How can we tell you who we are?" Han family young master said coldly. He took a step forward and blocked the other party's way. Unscathed in battle and Brother Yu had already rushed to the front while talking. Yutian Shinming was in the distance with his bow and arrow ready. No one said a word. They all attacked at the same time as if they had a tacit understanding. The remaining warrior and priest quickly fell to the ground, while the thief disappeared under Sword Ghoul's brutal attack. "Disappear?" Sword Demon was shocked. The effect of disappear was exactly the same as stealth. The only difference was that it could be forcefully activated in any situation. This was definitely not a skill that a thief at the current level should have. It's a skill scroll. Brother, you frowned. The skill activated by the skill scroll was based on the attributes of the scroll. It was not affected by the character's current level or skill proficiency. It could be a skill that you have not learned yet, and it was all instant cast. Fuck. Han family young master was flustered and exasperated. It was obvious that this guy was the biggest target this time, Unsmiler. However, no matter how much they thought about it, they did not expect this person to have such a high-level skill scroll. They actually let the final boss escape at the last moment. This was definitely a very depressing thing in the game. They looked in the direction of the valley exit. Unsmiler would probably be able to swagger in that direction now. Suddenly, Gu Fei's figure appeared from the forest. Han family young master was naturally furious. This guy actually appeared at this time. He was about to scold when he saw Gu Fei raise his arm, the dark red long sword in his hand horizontally beside him. Where do you want to go? Gu Fei smiled. Chapter 43. Everyone was dumbfounded, thinking that Gu Fei had lost his mind. Otherwise, why would he talk to the air? In the end, Gu Fei took 2 steps to the right, still holding the baptism of fire horizontally by his side. I'm talking to you. Still running. Just as the young master of the Han clan was about to start cursing, he saw a figure gradually appear in front of Gu Fei's horizontal blade. The figure was staring at Gu Fei, dumbfounded. It was the rogue who wanted to escape, the protagonist of this operation, Unsmiler. The valley was silent. Everyone looked at Gu Fei dumbfoundedly. Only the sword demon's expression was more natural. This wasn't the first time he had seen this. Go back, Gu Fei said lightly. Unsmiler suddenly laughed. He had already used Identify on Gu Fei. Although he did not know how this guy discovered him when he was in stealth mode, there was no doubt that Gu Fei was a magician with trash equipment. His level was quite high, but he was holding a sword in his hand. What fire baptism? What? Are you trying to trick me? Unsmiler already suspected that Gu Fei was a blind cat running into a dead mouse and that he had been fooled by this guy. Taking advantage of the fact that the other 5 were still far away, Unsmiler attacked Gu Fei without hesitation. At such a distance, wouldn't dealing with a mage be a matter of 2 or 3 strikes? Even with a priest by his side, it would be difficult to save him. Everyone would think so, and Unsmiler was no exception. The Han family young master and the others were the same. At this moment, they were hurriedly pouncing over to help. No one expected that Gu Fei would casually take a step back, and Unsmiler's strike missed. Then his arm bent, and the baptism of fire sliced toward Unsmiler. The speed of the attack was far beyond Unsmiler's expectations. In a panic, he hurriedly swung his dagger to block. This was the result of the current players' training in MMORPG for a period of time. When attacked, they wouldn't rely on their HP to tank. Players with keen senses had already discovered that in order to maximize the damage of their attacks, they needed to grasp the timing and position of their attacks, and if they wanted the enemy's attacks to miss, they needed to dodge or block. If he straightened his chest and took the hit head-on, he would be hit 100% of the time. There wouldn't be a situation where his dodge rate was high while his opponent's hit rate was low. This little discovery was of course nothing to Gu Fei. He had been playing the game with this attitude from the beginning. At the moment, his situation was the opposite of the players'. Currently, most players had the ability to evade attacks, but because they lacked the awareness to do so, or in other words, they lacked insight into their opponent's attacks, which resulted in their ability not being fully utilized. On the other hand, Gu Fei didn't lack awareness, nor did he lack the ability to see through his opponent's attacks. He just kept complaining that his body wasn't fast enough and that his strength wasn't great enough. Due to the players' own problems, they were unable to display the abilities set in the game. However, Gu Fei felt that the limitations of the data in the game prevented him from displaying his abilities to the fullest. From time to time, there would be attacks that Gu Fei could see clearly, but in the end, his body wouldn't be able to keep up with the rhythm, causing him to fail to dodge. This kind of situation happened occasionally, which made him very depressed. But in front of the players, Gu Fei's advantage was too obvious. Non-Smiler thought that he had succeeded by raising his dagger to block. How could he know that this slash from Gu Fei contains several variations of kung fu moves? Someone raised his blade to block. Such a common response was, of course, within the range of variations of this slash. Gu Fei's wrist bent casually, and this slash had already changed direction, changing from a slash to a slash, slashing diagonally at the non-Smiler's waist. The dark red blade suddenly flashed, and a streak of fire streaked across the entire blade, as if it was burning, finally converging on the part of the non-Smiler that had been slashed. There was a 30% chance of triggering, and a fire attack was launched. Although Gu Fei hadn't added wisdom, mages were born with a high rate of growth in wisdom. This was an advantage that came at the expense of strength growth and constitution growth. As their levels increased, the mage's natural growth of mana was much more plentiful than that of most professions. The fire damage caused by this slash wasn't on the same level as the fire damage caused by the hands of ordinary warriors. Non-Smiler took this slash, relying on his defense to hold on wasn't particularly uncomfortable, but the fire damage that followed made him suffer quite a bit. Thieves were also a profession with low HP, and this time, their HP immediately dropped by half. Pale with fright, Gu Fei's second slash had already arrived. Non-Smiler raised his dagger to block, but how could he catch Gu Fei's skillful attack? The baptism of fire once again bypassed the dagger that was held horizontally in the air and landed on his shoulder. Non-Smiler's heart went cold, and he could only close his eyes and wait for death. Who knew that this time, the fire magic wouldn't activate? Just as he was secretly rejoicing, Gu Fei's third slash had already arrived. This kind of continuous attack was simply the style of a thief. Non-Smiler was completely speechless. For a moment, he wondered if there was a problem with his identify, or if the opponent had some higher-level identify skill. Illusionary flowers, moon water enchantment. I've never heard of this kind of skill. Non-Smiler the third slash didn't resist at all. He just raised his arm and tried to pull off the black cloth covering Gu Fei's face. Of course, Gu Fei didn't let him have his way. He dodged while continuing to slash at Non-Smiler's body. Fire damage was activated once again. Flames flashed, and just as Non-Smiler was about to be engulfed, a white light suddenly descended on his head. Restore. Non-Smiler's HP was saved by this restore. He turned his head in surprise and looked at the only priest present, Han family young master. Gu Fei also stopped attacking. Seeing that he was about to finish off a character, he suddenly lent a helping hand. Naturally, he had something to say. Brother Yu, unscathed in battle, and the others were originally going to rush up to help, but when they saw Gu Fei start to slash, Non-Smiler stood still. For a mage to slash a thief, they couldn't quite accept it for the first time. In particular, they were legendary in-game experts. The deep-rooted traditional concepts of online games made them feel that they must be seeing things. While they were in a daze, Gu Fei finished his 3 slashes and Han family young master used his restore before they came back to their senses. They hurriedly rushed forward, surrounding the Non-Smiler in the middle. Non-Smiler was everyone's ultimate goal, but everyone's eyes were on Gu Fei. Only Han family young master stood firm. He looked at Non-Smiler and asked indifferently, "Non-Smiler?" Unsmilingly nodded and glanced at the guys around him. All of their faces were covered with black cloth. And the one talking to him seemed to have more than one piece of cloth on his face. The one speaking in this situation should be the leader of this group. Could it be that having more cloth on one's face was a sign of a leader? Non-Smiler, from being surrounded to being seen through, to being attacked by a mage with a sword, to seeing the Han family young master with 3 pieces of cloth on his face, question marks came one after another in his mind. "Do you know who we are?" Han family young master said. Non-smiler shook his head. That's good. Han family young master let out a long sigh. Don't talk nonsense. Sword demon rolled his eyes. Han family young master nodded and pointed at Non-smiler. Have you heard of Amethyst Reborn? You? Non-smiler was surprised. Even the bystanders could relate to the grudge between him and July, let alone him. I don't know what you think about Purple Crystal Resurrection, but I have 2 sisters in that guild. So, if you go looking for trouble with Purple Crystal Resurrection, we'll come looking for you, understand? Han Zhuoling's reply was, I don't know what you think about Purple Crystal Resurrection, but I have 2 sisters in that guild. So, if you go looking for trouble with Purple Crystal Resurrection, we'll come looking for you, understand? Non-smiler didn't say anything. Han family young master didn't force him to answer. He only continued to say indifferently, today's matter is a warning to you. Alright, your brothers are all dead. We came here for you today, so there's no reason not to kill you. After saying that, he winked at the side. The sword ghost took a step forward and brandished his dagger. Under the astonished gaze of the non-smiler, the sword ghost finished him off. Let's call it a day. Han family young master said. Everyone nodded and suddenly rushed forward, grabbing Gu Fei. Brother Yu reached out and tore off the black cloth on his face. What are you doing? Gu Fei didn't expect this and couldn't defend himself. That's why they say friends are scarier than enemies. It's really Qianli. Yutian Xinming shouted. Nonsense. Gu Fei was depressed. Han family young master tore off the 3 pieces of cloth on his face and walked forward. He pulled Gu Fei's head and looked at it from left to right. Gu Fei resisted, but the one behind him was unscathed in battle. He simply lifted a finger and Gu Fei's resistance was suppressed. Han family young master studied Gu Fei's face and asked Brother Yu, there aren't any disguise skills in the game, right? I don't think so. Brother Yu, who was always confident in his intelligence, was a bit hesitant. He also walked forward and studied Gu Fei's face. Hey, that's enough. Gu Fei said. It really is Qianli. Brother Yu said. I think so too. Han family young master said. Unscathed in battle released Gu Fei from behind. Gu Fei put the knife back into his pocket. The others still looked at him like he was a monster. Qianli, you added points to agility, right? Brother Yu asked. This was the first time the mercenary group members, besides Sword Demon, appreciated Gu Fei's skills. Gu Fei nodded, Quan Min, everyone looked at each other. This training method of yours. How did you figure it out? Brother Yu asked carefully. He began to suspect that Gu Fei was an internal member of the gaming company, and that he had access to a lot of undisclosed data. Otherwise, who would add points to a mage's full agility at the start of a game? What's there to think about? Gu Fei spoke of his grievance of choosing the wrong mage. Of course, his words couldn't help but express his endless frustration towards becoming a mage. Other than that, he also expressed his endless yearning to become a grandmaster of combat or even a warrior. This of course attracted the dissatisfaction of Yutian Xinming, who was no longer a mage but still loved mages. Damn, what's wrong with being a mage? Training like this is a waste of a mage. Sigh. Gu Fei sighed, kids don't understand adult matters. Yutian Xinming was so angry that his nose was crooked. The others were also a bit curious, why is Qianli so into a grandmaster of combat? Because, I am a grandmaster of combat who studies Kung Fu. Gu Fei said. Chapter 44. Kung Fu. Grandmaster of Combat. Research. The others repeated Gu Fei's words as they looked at each other and smiled. Gu Fei had seen this kind of expression too many times. Every time he talked about his Kung Fu, they would always have this kind of disapproving expression. But this was the game, and Gu Fei had the ability to prove it. He waved the fire baptism in his hand and said to the others, look at this move of mine. There are 4 variations and 4 follow-up moves. If, okay. Don't change your move, change your equipment first. The enemy's follow-up move is about to come. Han family young master said. Change my equipment? Gu Fei didn't understand. Everyone, change your equipment. Han family young master turned around and said to the other 4. The 4 nodded, and in the blink of an eye, they were all dressed in plain clothes. Brother Yu turned around and explained to Gu Fei, even though our faces are covered, the enemy can still recognize our equipment if they use Identify, especially since Unsmiler's Identify is quite high level. Like the Sword Demon's Frostbite's memory, it's definitely a good item that will never be forgotten. That's why. Let's change our equipment to make sure they don't recognize us. Gu Fei nodded, but this is all I have. You don't need to change. Han family young master said, take off your broken straw hat, take off your broken shoes, put away your broken sword, and dress like a mage. Gu Fei listened to his orders. Han family young master continued, the quest isn't over yet, it's only just begun. Unsmiler has been around for so many years, he won't be scared off so easily. I think he still has the guts to take revenge on us. Brother Yu agreed, not to mention he has Reigning 4 as his backer. I think they've already called for help when they were attacked. Yutian Shinming nodded, they did call for help in the guild channel. But we moved fast enough. They shouldn't have gone far. The Han family young master looked at the time and said, let's split up and go to the Cloud Fruit Farm in the west of the city. We'll mingle with the ordinary players and kill monsters to level up. If you see anyone from Reigning 4 Seas, remember to gather information about them. Don't close the chat window and listen to the news at any time. Everyone nodded and prepared to go their separate ways after leaving the valley. Hey! Are you guys interested in learning Kung Fu from me? Gu Fei shouted. There will be a chance. The Han family young master patted him and turned around. Let's go. The 6 of them chose their own path. In short, they temporarily avoided the main road leading to Cloud City from Cloud Valley. Not long after leaving the Cloud Red Mountain Valley was the Cloud Material Farm. The monsters here ranged from level 25 to level 30, and it was currently one of the areas with the most players. The supply of small monsters could not meet the demand, and the players stopping here and there had become a part of the scenery here. Under these circumstances, no one actually tried to kill Steel. This was all because there was an unwritten rule in the Cloud Material Farm, kill stealers will be attacked by everyone. This wasn't because the players were of high quality, but because everyone felt that there were too many monks and not enough gruel. If someone gave everyone such a cool excuse to kick them out, they would be more than happy to do so. As this situation continued, there were no more kill stealers in the Cloud Material Farm. Instead, there were more and more people who were falsely accused of kill stealing. Those who were falsely accused often had one thing in common, they were too strong. Those who were too strong killed monsters quickly, and this made most of the ordinary players feel uneasy. As a result, once someone went against their conscience and shouted, he stole the kill, even more people would immediately pretend to have made a mistake. No matter how strong a player was, they would not be able to withstand the sudden mistake of more than 20 people around them. They would not even have the chance to defend themselves before they disappeared from the field of hope. The Cloud Crop Farm was a very dark place. Brother Yu explained the situation of the farm to everyone in the mercenary channel, reminding them not to show off too much, and to just go up and find a random monster to pretend to be good. Everyone nodded in agreement. When they arrived at the Cloud Material Farm, Gu Fei looked around and saw a few people mixed in the crowd. They all subconsciously leaned towards the road in the middle of the farm. This was the road that led straight to Cloud Mist Valley, and if anyone came here, they would definitely pass through here. Gu Fei looked around. They were all following Brother Yu's instructions, holding the most broken weapons and looking for a target to slowly attack. Gu Fei immediately took out his magic staff, but he didn't use any spells. He just used it like a fire stick to hit a grass doll that spawned in front of him. Not long after, dust began to fly in the distance. Several players were running in this direction at a uniform speed. After all, different bonuses and equipment affected the movement speed of each class. If everyone ran at their maximum speed, the team would be in a straight line, and they would be attacked one by one. Reigning the Four Seas had obviously considered this problem, and so they chose to run at a uniform speed. The crowd ran through the road in the field, matched with various classes. The players leveling up in the farm couldn't help but stop to watch. They leveled up here every day, but they had never seen such a big commotion before. What was going on? The players were all discussing. An experienced player pointed at the emblem worn by the players in the middle of the road and explained to the others, "Reigning the Four Seas." So the players all understood that Reigning the Four Seas was doing a training event to improve the quality of their troops. It's quite a scene. Han family young master said in the mercenary channel, "Yutian, how many people does Reigning have right now?" "We just got promoted to level 3, and we've already recruited 300 people. Yutian Shinming replied. "How many are level 30? "Big bro, there are no numbers in front of us. Don't expect me to count them one by one." Yutian Shinming said. This unfunny, if he knew what's good for him, he would have stopped them. What a pity. Looks like he thinks he has a strong backing. TSK, let's play with him a bit more. Han family young master said. Reigning the Four Seas soon passed through the farm and headed straight for Cloud Valley. After that, there were only one or two scattered across the field. Yutian Shinming tried to take care of the stragglers, but was stopped by Han family young master. "They're looking for us. Aren't you just telling them that we're at Cloud Valley Farm?" "Then what do we do now?" Yutian Shinming asked. "We don't have the ability to catch them all in one fell swoop. We can only catch the leader first." "Did you see any non-smilers among the people who went over?" Han family's young master asked. "No. Brother Yu replied confidently. "This is his business. He has no reason not to come. I'm afraid it's because we just sent him back to the city and he's still on the way. Qianli, follow the road back to the city. If you see him, send us a message." Han family young master said. "Okay." Gu Fei got up and prepared to go. "Hurry up and go to the Thieves' Guild after returning to the city. That's where Unfunny will revive. Find a chance to get rid of him. I don't think you'll have a problem fighting him one-on-one, right?" Han family young master said. "Of course not." Gu Fei rested his staff on his shoulder and whistled as he went on his way. Full agility mages weren't slow either. Gu Fei ran for a while. When he could see the outline of Cloud City, he saw a figure running towards him. When he looked closer, it was indeed Unfunny. "I see Unfunny." Gu Fei yelled in the mercenary channel. "Got it. Don't worry about him. Hurry up and go. When you get to the Thieves' Guild, send us a message. Brother Yu, you go too. We'll estimate when Unfunny will arrive and choose a place to strike." Han family young master commanded. "No problem." Gu Fei and Brother Yu sent the message at the same time. At the same time, Gu Fei and Unfunny brushed past each other. Unfunny didn't notice Gu Fei at all. He was anxiously hurrying forward. Returning to Cloud City, Gu Fei quickly arrived at the Thieves' Guild. He looked around and sent a message. "I'm here." Before that, Brother Yu had already met up with Unfunny. Knowing that Gu Fei had already arrived at the designated location, the strategy was quickly arranged. "Unfunny is here." In the chat channel, Yutian Shinming yelled. Hey. Live text broadcast. Gu Fei didn't want to miss this exciting scene since he couldn't watch it live. "Let me do it." Yutian Shinming volunteered. Unfunny is walking over. He's walking over. He's walking alone. He's holding a dagger in his hand, representing the glorious tradition of thieves. Walking on the field road, he doesn't look around. He's walking straight ahead. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Sorry, I should count backwards. It's more exciting that way. Sorry, I don't know how many steps to start counting backwards or forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. He's getting closer. 1 step after another. 6 steps, 7 steps. He's here. He's attacking. The sword demon hiding in the middle of the road is attacking. The moment Unfunny passed by him, he nimbly turned around and stabbed the dagger deep into. Sorry, I didn't see if it was his waist or his butt. Unfunny turned his head, but there wasn't a smile on his face. Unfortunately, all he saw was a face covered by a black cloth. Unfunny tried to pull off the cloth, but he didn't have the chance. The sword demon stabbed him again. Sword demon, I think you should let him pull off the cloth on your face. That way, you'll scare him to death. Maybe he'll drop some equipment. Scram! The sword demon, who had dealt with Unfunny, sent a word. Qianli, how's it going on your side? Han family young master asked. Yeah, I've already seen him, Gu Fei said. He watched as Unfunny rushed out of the thieves' guild with a flustered and exasperated face. He spun around twice on the spot. He was probably so angry that he couldn't tell where he was going. Then he drooped his head at a 45-degree angle and stared blankly at the ground. I'm making my move. Unfortunately, I don't have time to broadcast it. Gu Fei took out a black cloth and covered his face. He put on the straw hat and carried the flame baptism behind him. He quickly chased after Unfunny. Chapter 45. No one knew what he was thinking, but he was so engrossed in it that he didn't even notice Gu Fei was behind him. It was too boring to attack from behind. Gu Fei made a turn and arrived in front of the non-smiler. Hey! The non-smiler raised his head. As soon as he saw the black cloth covering his face, he immediately jumped up as if he had been injected with chicken blood. He didn't even want to attack and just turned around to run. He didn't expect this to be even more boring than fighting an NPC. Gu Fei thought painfully and rushed forward to stab the non-smiler. Thieves were originally a class with an advantage in agility, but the non-smiler focused on strength and had just dropped 2 levels. Compared to a mage who focused on agility, his speed was actually inferior. After all, although mages didn't have an advantage in agility, they didn't skimp on it. The process of killing the non-smiler made Gu Fei feel extremely dull. The non-smiler only cared about running back to the safe zone, but unfortunately, Gu Fei's speed was faster than him. Step by step, he chased and slashed. The fire attack of the baptism of flames didn't even trigger once. The non-smiler was still killed before he could step into the safe zone. This caused the surrounding players to scream in shock. Gu Fei sighed deeply. At this time, the non-smiler had already resurrected in the Thief Guild. Naturally, he was extremely angry, pointing at Gu Fei and cursing. Gu Fei turned a deaf ear to him. He shrugged at the non-smiler to express his helplessness, then waved his hand and left. How was it? How was it? How was it? At this time, the Han family young masters group of questions in the mercenary channel had already flooded to more than 100 posts. It's done. Gu Fei quickly replied. Did he drop anything? Han family young master asked. No, Gu Fei replied. No way. He's so lucky. Nothing dropped after dying 3 times. Han family young master's words made everyone very suspicious of his motives. He plotted to kill the non-smiler twice. Was it because he wanted to completely suppress the non-smiler's spirit, or was it because he coveted the non-smiler's equipment? Let's kill him again. Yutian Shinming was much more straightforward. I don't believe that he won't drop anything. How did he react when he saw you? Han family young master asked Gu Fei. Scared, very scared. What happens after you're killed? Angry, very angry. How about now? I walked away. I think he's going to call for help to surround me. Gu Fei said. A level 30 novice mage robe is still a bit conspicuous. Go buy a mage robe and wear it. Han family young master said. I want to get a set of clothes with high defense, preferably with some agility or strength. What do you recommend? Gu Fei consulted the masters. In this regard, he had also done some research on the internet, but he still did not dare to compare himself to these masters. The Swift Shadow Cloak often has an additional agility attribute. The Cloak of the Strong usually has an additional strength attribute. Take a look at these two. Sword Demon suggested to Gu Fei, although the defense isn't as good as a warrior's armor, armor is considered a heavy armor. It requires a corresponding amount of strength to wear. You didn't add any strength, right? I haven't added any yet. We'll talk about it later. Gu Fei said. Everyone, other than that, please get a mage robe. As a mage, you'll be even more conspicuous if you wear a thief's favorite cloak. I promise there won't be a second mage like you in the entire city. Han family young master said. A mage wearing a cloak. Comrades, I want to cry. Yutian Xinming said. Don't worry, wait until Qianli wears armor in the future before you cry. Brother, you comforted him. Your mage is a bit of a mess. I think we need to recruit a real mage for our team. Han family young master said. Yutian Xinming cried in the end, if I knew this would happen, I would have chosen to be a mage. Alright, let's get down to business. Han family young master said, let's go back to the city now. Qianli, pay attention to Non-Smiler's movements. If there's a chance, go and see if he's given up. Then should I go to buy clothes, or to find out what's going on? Gu Fei asked. Do as you see fit. The Han clan's young master said. Gu Fei thought about it. Clothes were sold every day. If he didn't talk to Non-Smiler now, how would he have the chance to get close to him in the future? He immediately went back to the Thieves' Guild. He hid behind the wall and looked over. Non-Smiler was still there, sitting alone in front of the Thieves' Guild and playing Sadness. Gu Fei had long suspected that Non-Smiler would call for help to find him. How could he not be on guard now? He looked around for a while and made up his mind. He walked all the way to the Thieves' Guild and found a dark corner. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, he quickly put on his mask. He turned around from behind the wall and appeared in front of Non-Smiler in a flash. Naturally, Non-Smiler was startled. He scrambled back into the safe zone. Gu Fei had a smile on his face. Unfortunately, it was blocked by the cloth and no one could appreciate it. He leaned against the wall and raised his head at Non-Smiler. Hey! Non-Smiler's eyes were full of hatred as he glared at Gu Fei. The two were only one step apart, but in the game, this step could mean the difference between life and death. Non-Smiler stood in the safe zone and straightened his back. He looked at Gu Fei and said, What do you guys want? Didn't I already tell you? Gu Fei said. But you guys, Gu Fei knew what he was going to say and directly interrupted him. Yeah, you probably didn't find trouble with Reborn Amethyst, but now you're going to find trouble with us. You see, this is an even crazier and more dangerous move. In order to help you wake up, we could only use this method and kill you twice. Now the organization has sent me to ask you, how are you? Are you awake? Who the hell are you guys? Non-Smiler's expression was close to madness. Is there any point in asking the same question so many times? We're not kids anymore. Grow up. Gu Fei said. Okay, grow up. Non-Smiler nodded his head. I'll grow up. Suddenly, he let out a hysterical roar. Non-Smiler took a step forward and pounced at Gu Fei. He didn't even have a dagger in his hand. Looking at his movements, it was clear that he wanted to hug Gu Fei. But Gu Fei seemed to have anticipated this. His body suddenly crouched and he swung his sword in a backhand motion. At the same time Non-Smiler flashed past him, fire baptism also brushed past him. Flames flickered and fire magic burned Non-Smiler's body. Gu Fei flipped his wrist and his sword descended, chopping at Non-Smiler's back. At the same time, he raised his leg and kicked Non-Smiler's butt. Gu Fei's people had already retreated into the safe zone. Non-Smiler, who was still in the position of hugging Gu Fei, was kicked forward. At the same time, he was also very unlucky. The second time Gu Fei chopped at his back, he activated fire magic again. There were also a few people in a hugging posture in the direction Non-Smiler pounced towards. They wanted to hug Non-Smiler, but all they hugged was a flash of white light. Gu Fei looked at the 4 C's badges that these people wore on different parts of their bodies and sighed. Your murderous aura is too heavy. But these people were still immersed in the scene that had just happened in the blink of an eye. Non-Smiler had arranged for people to be nearby, waiting for the masked guy to appear. He didn't want to kill him, but he had to see his true face. Only then could he find out where this group came from and slowly take revenge in the future. Non-Smiler was overjoyed at Gu Fei's sudden appearance. He hummed and groaned perfunctorily to stall for time with Gu Fei, waiting for his subordinates to come and block Gu Fei's path of retreat. Then, he and his subordinates attacked from the front and back, trying to pounce on Gu Fei. Who knew that Gu Fei would dodge as if he was already prepared, and even finished him off in such a short period of time. In the eyes of ordinary people, Gu Fei's movements just now were unbelievably fast. However, in reality, what made Gu Fei fast was not speed, but rhythm. As he dodged, he was already launching an attack. When the first slash landed, he immediately changed to the angle where he could quickly launch a second attack. Before the second slash reached its end, his leg had already kicked out, causing Non-Smiler to stagger forward while his life was burned away by the enchantment of the second slash. To put it simply, ordinary players would do 4 steps of 1, 2, 3, 4. Gu Fei, on the other hand, did 2 steps at the same time, and in between, he used the fastest method. This kind of attack and defense in one go, in the eyes of an outsider, could only be described with one word: fast. Gu Fei was now standing in the safe zone, and the 6 reigning players outside couldn't do anything to him. Once again back in the safe zone, Non-Smiler seemed to have lost his mind. He roared and pounced at Gu Fei, his hands waving wildly in the air, aiming for the black cloth on Gu Fei's face. But this time, Gu Fei didn't move, as if he didn't see it. Non-Smiler's hand was just about to grab the black cloth on Gu Fei's face when it suddenly stopped in midair. Gu Fei shook his head. You didn't read the game manual properly. This is the offline safe zone, and players can't come into contact with each other. Otherwise, if you guys rushed in and threw me out before killing me, this safe zone wouldn't be the same. Non-Smiler's hand, frozen in midair, couldn't stop trembling. He, who had died 4 times in a row, was now challenging the god of the system, trying to break the taboo of contact in the safe zone. Of course, it was futile. But then Non-Smiler had an idea. He puffed up his cheeks and blew at Gu Fei's face. Gu Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you an idiot? I said we can't come into contact with each other. Do you think you can blow away the cloth on my face just by blowing? Finally at his wit's end, Non-Smiler slumped to the ground. Gu Fei looked at him with sympathy, and couldn't help but comfort him. Forget it, you're lucky you didn't drop anything after dying 4 times. Non-Smiler didn't react at all, and it was unknown whether he heard Gu Fei's words. Gu Fei shook his head and was about to walk away when he looked up. The players from Reigning the Seas were now blocking the entrance of the guild in a domineering manner. They obviously had no intention of letting him leave. Chapter 46. Hey! Look! Gu Fei turned around and crouched beside Non-Smiler, pointing at the few people blocking the entrance of the Thieves' Guild. I think you're still not clear-headed enough. Gu Fei said. Non-Smiler looked at him expressionlessly and didn't say anything. After a while, not only did the people outside not disperse, but they actually increased in number. Gu Fei sighed and pulled up the mercenary chat window. This Non-Smiler really has guts. I killed him again and now I'm surrounded. Then you're not dead yet? Han family young master asked. I'm crouching in the safe zone. Gu Fei said. Can you charge out? Han family young master asked. I'll try. Gu Fei said as he stood up. We'll be there soon. Han family young master shouted in the chat window. No need. Gu Fei said, their numbers are still increasing. Even if we all gather together, we won't be able to fight against 300 people from reigning the world. I'll take advantage of the small number of people and charge out by myself. Alright, good luck. We're going to drink. Han family young master said. Gu Fei was speechless. The mage's robe was so long that it almost reached the ground and hindered his movements. Gu Fei lifted the hem and tied it firmly around his waist. He gripped the fire baptism in his hand tightly and said to Non-Smiler, I'm going. Non-Smiler looked at him in surprise. There were already at least 10 unhindered players gathered outside the Thief Guild, and more were arriving. Did this guy think he was some kind of GM or something? Was he trying to charge out just like that? Even the people blocking the way outside didn't expect Gu Fei to do this. They were all prepared for a long battle. They thought that both sides would sit in the safe zone and negotiate, or that the other side would come to help. Thus, it would be a chaotic battle outside the safe zone. However, the current development was Gu Fei challenging them all by himself. Gu Fei slowly walked out of the safe zone. His face was still wrapped in a black cloth, so no one could see his expression. However, there was a kind of aura that made everyone subconsciously nervous. They kept reminding themselves in their hearts, we have more people, what are we afraid of? Although they had this kind of thought, the scene of Gu Fei finishing off the Non-Smiler in an instant kept replaying in their minds. How did he do it? They still couldn't figure it out. Gu Fei had already walked to the door. Suddenly, he kicked the ground and jumped out. The legendary boundary between life and death had been crossed by him. He waved the flame baptism in his hand to his side. As long as Gu Fei attacked, no one could dodge it. Firstly, the speed produced by adding all his points into agility was definitely not slow. Secondly, the angle of his attack was completely incomprehensible to others. Thirdly, even if his attack missed, he would still be able to quickly adjust and adapt. This first attack fiercely hit a wizard who was chanting beside him. Although Gu Fei didn't know appraisal, in reality, the equipment that each character would choose in the game was still very different. For example, a wizard's robe, a thief's favorite cloak, and a warrior's armor could all be distinguished at a glance. It was also a sure thing to determine a person's class by their attire. This slash hit the other party. Although it didn't kill him directly, it at least interrupted the wizard's chanting. Gu Fei could see through close-range attacks, but he was wary of the wizard's spells. In particular, the wizard's lowest-level spell, Fireball, actually had an automatic tracking function. Although the duration was very short, it still had a considerable impact on Gu Fei's skills. Not only did this slash hit the other party, but Gu Fei's flying kick also landed on a player. Of course, the damage of this kick was negligible, but the other party took a few steps back, just in time to block 2 players who were about to rush over. Gu Fei landed and flipped the flame baptism in his hand, attacking the wizard again. Unfortunately, the wizard had low HP and mediocre speed, so there was nothing he could do about Gu Fei's attack. The staff in his hand was not in the right position, and he felt very annoyed. The fire attack of the flame baptism was launched at the right time. Although the wizard's magic defense was higher than the average character's, his physical defense was on the low side, and he had low HP. After being hit by Gu Fei twice, he still couldn't escape death. Full of energy, Gu Fei raised his sword and fought again. A group of people blocked the door to kill him, but it turned out that Gu Fei had the initiative. A very important reason was that Non-Smiler stood in the safe zone and yelled, "Don't kill him, tear off the cloth on his face." Non-Smiler was worried that once Gu Fei went out, he would be instantly dismembered and revived in the safe zone. If that happened, he would never be able to see this person's true identity again, so he made the same mistake as Cao Cao. It was said that in Dangyang Changban, Cao Cao shouted, "Don't shoot arrows, capture him alive," causing Zhao Yun to carry Liu Bei's son and stain his robe with blood before finally leaving. However, Cao Cao had at least 1,000,000 troops, so he was very confident. Non-Smiler only had 10 people, and yet he dared to follow the ancient times. As he shouted, Gu Fei had already finished off the wizard. As soon as these words came out, the other players who wanted to take revenge were put in a difficult position. Not only could ordinary players not maximize their attack power like Gu Fei, but they also couldn't minimize the damage of their weapons. A few warriors with heavy weapons hesitated at this time, afraid that the heavy firepower in their hands would flatten Gu Fei. Gu Fei was not a rash person who was brave but not astute. When he made the decision to rush out of the encirclement, he had already seen the 10 people clearly and believed that he had the strength to deal with these 10 people. In the end, as soon as Non-Smiler gave the order, the remaining 9 of the 10 people became timid. One by one, they looked at Gu Fei, not knowing whether to attack or not. This made Gu Fei very unhappy, and he turned back to glare at Non-Smiler with murderous intent. Non-Smiler was not satisfied, and continued to add to the chaos behind him, capture him, tear off the cloth on his face, tear off the cloth on his face. A group of people put away their weapons and rushed forward unarmed, wanting to compete with Gu Fei. In the end, Gu Fei's flame baptism danced more vigorously than they did. Flames flew everywhere, and in the blink of an eye, 2 people with low HP were also defeated. Some warriors, relying on their rough skin and thick flesh, wanted to come forward and forcibly capture Gu Fei alive. But Gu Fei's speed was faster than the warriors, and with this skill and this fleeting movement, the group of people were like eagles catching chicks, but they couldn't even touch the edge of Gu Fei's clothes. In the blink of an eye, another 2 people fell to the ground. One of them was a warrior who thought that his HP was so high that he didn't care about Gu Fei's attacks. Non-Smiler had already realized that his command was a great failure, but things had already come to this, and he could only continue to make mistakes. Otherwise, the people who had heroically died at the beginning would come back and blame him. So he continued to shout, hold on, reinforcements will be here soon." Just from listening to him, and without looking at the scene, one would think that Gu Fei had brought a large group of people to surround them. After hearing Non-Smiler's reminder, Gu Fei also felt that it was not good for him to continue playing around here. When added to the damage of fire magic, Gu Fei's attack power was definitely not to be underestimated. But the problem was that his fire magic's probability was only 30%, which was the difference between maximum and minimum attack that Gu Fei couldn't overcome even with his skills. This caused him to often encounter some awkward problems in the process of fighting. For example, when he chopped down with his sword, there were several exquisite follow-up moves hidden, and the result was that the fire magic was triggered. With a whoosh, the opponent died. Or sometimes when he chopped down from the left, he hoped that the fire magic would destroy the guy in one go, and he would be free to deal with the right side. In the end, the fire magic just didn't come out, and he had no choice but to readjust his formation. This intermittent fire magic attack not only helped Gu Fei, but it also disrupted his rhythm to a certain extent, affecting his performance. In a one-on-one fight, this kind of effect was negligible, but in this kind of complex situation where one was fighting against many, the effect was constantly magnified. Originally, out of the 10 people surrounding him, 5 had been cut down by Gu Fei, but now there were still 8 left. It seemed that his plan to kill all 10 of them was a bit unrealistic. Not to mention the one who came in as support, just the 2 thieves had already died under Gu Fei's sword once. But in the end, this was the main entrance of the Thieves' Guild. After dying, they resurrected on the spot and rushed out to fight again. In any case, Non-Smiler's order was not to kill, but to look at the opponent's appearance. In order to prevent the durability of their equipment from dropping when they died, the 2 simply took off their upper arms and directly came out to fight with Gu Fei. Gu Fei's attacks were no longer limited to sword slashes, punches, and kicks. In short, he didn't let anyone get close. Although the few of them were beaten to a sorry state by Gu Fei, they still thought that at least their encirclement was very successful. Little did they know that it wasn't that they had trapped Gu Fei, but that Gu Fei himself didn't want to leave. At this moment, when Gu Fei wanted to leave, he decisively swung his sword twice, taking advantage of the gap that the other side dodged, and rushed out of the circle. Non-Smiler also thought that his encirclement was very successful. When he saw that Gu Fei had rushed out of the circle, he thought that it was a small mistake on the part of his subordinates. He anxiously shouted, "Hurry, surround him, surround him." As he shouted, he also rushed out of the safe zone with his upper arms bare. But at this time, Gu Fei had already rushed out a few meters. Non-Smiler pointed at Gu Fei and shouted at the two thieves beside him, "Quickness, hurry, quickness." The two thieves cried, "I just died and lost a level, I don't know quickness anymore." One of them cried even louder, "My quickness has already burned quite a lot of proficiency." When Non-Smiler heard this, his heart sank. He had already forgotten about his losses. He only looked at how many levels he had lost, and the durability of his equipment had all been refreshed to 0. But he was really lucky that he didn't drop anything. He completely forgot that his level 30 quickness, which he had already gained a lot of proficiency with, was now also gone. Just as he was vexed, he suddenly saw that Gu Fei had stopped in front of him. Non-Smiler was overjoyed and hurriedly ordered everyone to give chase. Unexpectedly, when Gu Fei turned around, he suddenly ran back with quick steps, muttering something. Everyone was startled and couldn't help but slow down a few steps. In the end, Gu Fei turned around and ran again with big strides. "Fuck, we've been tricked." Non-Smiler shouted, flustered and exasperated. Because of this slow down, the distance between them increased again. Everyone was vexed and sped up again when suddenly there was a flash of fire in front of them. A fire dragon soared up and turned into several fireballs in the blink of an eye, rushing towards them with a ting-ting-ting sound. "Ah!" Accompanied by everyone's cries of surprise, everyone was hit by the explosion. Apart from Non-Smiler, these people still had traces of being cut by Gu Fei, and their health wasn't full. After one attack, 2 more people returned to the safe zone. Level 30 Wizard Skill, Chain Fireball. Although the shirtless Non-Smiler didn't die, he was not lightly injured. At this time, his eyes were full of hot tears, and he finally couldn't help but let out a sigh. "Fuck, I forgot that he's a wizard." Chapter 47. Before Gu Fei left, he suddenly came up with a plan. He turned around and threw out a chain of fireballs. This was the first time he used a mage skill in actual combat. Originally, he just wanted to slow down the guys behind him so they wouldn't chase so closely. In the end, he was delighted to see the results. He killed 2 of them. Unfortunately, at this time, he could see players rushing in this direction on the surrounding streets. They must be the helpers called by Non-Smiler. Gu Fei gave up on the idea of rushing back to kill all 3 of them and quickened his pace to escape the scene of the crime. After a few laps in the chaotic streets of Cloud City, he found a secluded corner with no one around. Gu Fei took off the black cloth, took off his straw hat, put away the flame baptism, took out his staff, and swaggered out of the corner. More and more players ran towards the Thieves' Guild. Only a small portion of them were players from Unhindered. Most of them were just there to watch the show. Gu Fei felt sorry for them. They had only just arrived and couldn't see anything. Murderer Gu Fei walked the streets as if there was no one else around. He didn't come to Little Ray's bar very often. Boss Little Ray was already quite familiar with this group of people. The main thing was that there were 2 guys among the 6 who would definitely have an unforgettable memory. Seeing Gu Fei enter the door, Little Ray greeted him with a smile and pointed to their private room. Gu Fei walked over and lifted the curtain to take a look. These guys really kept their word. They said they wouldn't care about him and directly came over to drink. Now they really were here to toast. The 5 looked up and saw Gu Fei. Han family young master looked at the time. 6 minutes. "Sorry, I won." Sword Demon said expressionlessly and reached out his hand to the table. The other four helplessly reached into their pockets and each took out 5 gold coins, throwing them on the table. Sword Demon mercilessly put them all into his pocket and then reached out to Yutian. No, you should have 10. Hey, I was just joking. You took it seriously. Yutian Shinming was displeased. Of course, you have to keep your word. Sword Demon extended his hand and didn't move. Give it to him, or else we won't be able to drink anymore. Han family young master said. Yutian Shinming reluctantly took out another 5 gold coins and gave them to the Sword Demon. After settling the accounts, the 5 of them began to pay attention to Gu Fei. The Han family young master took the lead to applaud. Welcome, welcome, welcome our number 1 killer. Gu Fei watched as the Sword Demon filled his pockets with gold coins and asked, What are you doing? Nothing, we're just estimating the time you'll need to break out of the encirclement. Han family young master said. Bet? Sword Demon won. Gu Fei said as he sat down. Sword Demon nodded. Then you should give me half. Gu Fei smiled. The Sword Demon nodded again and took out gold coins from his pocket. He carefully counted 12, then counted 50 silver coins and pushed them in front of Gu Fei. Half each. Gu Fei was stunned. He was just joking. The Han family young master looked up at the sky and sighed. Take it. Next time, remember not to joke with people who lack humor. Sword Demon was very serious. I should. Even if you didn't say it, I would have given you half. Gu Fei laughed dryly. Thanks. Then he put the money into his pocket. Yutian Shinming's face was full of pain. How is it? What's the situation with the non-smiler now? Han family young master asked Gu Fei. I don't know. I came over after breaking out of the encirclement. Do you want me to go back and talk to him? There are quite a lot of people over there. Gu Fei said. Yutian Shinming nodded. The people who went to Cloud Valley were all called back. Did the non-smiler say anything in the guild channel? Han family young master asked Yutian Shinming. Yutian Shinming stared at the chat log in the guild channel. Everyone is asking him what happened and who the other party is, but the non-smiler hasn't said anything. He said something. Yutian Shinming suddenly said. What did he say? Brothers, avenge me. Yutian Shinming read to everyone. Everyone looked at each other. This guy is so fucking hard to deal with. Han family young master sighed. However, if he stays with us and doesn't pester the purple crystal of rebirth, our mission will be considered complete, brother, you said. That's impossible. He doesn't even know who we are. How can he fight with us? In the end, he can only take it out on the reborn amethyst. Han family young master said. I think we've made a mistake from the start. Gu Fei said. When did the non-smiler and July wildfire happen? This guy is petty enough to hold a grudge until now. And wasn't he in the wrong first? Now he's the one who jumped out to provoke us. He's thick-skinned enough. He's been killed 4 times and he's still shouting, brothers, avenge me. He's really vengeful. This kind of person, as long as he stays in the game, he'll be a scourge sooner or later. Once he finds the chance, he'll jump out and bite you. Then what do you think we should do? Get him out of the game. No matter how strong we are, we can't do that. Han family young master said. Gu Fei was about to speak, but brother, you spoke first. Let's look at the situation first before making a decision. Brother, you said. Everyone nodded in agreement. Gu Fei swallowed the words he wanted to say. At the same time, the entire Cloud City and its surrounding areas were talking about this big event. With Qianli's voice transmission function in the chat channel, the news spread faster than ever. Ever since the game was released, there had never been a PK incident that shocked the entire guild. And today, the largest guild in Cloud City, Forces, ran from Cloud City to Cloud Valley, and from Cloud Valley back to the rogue guild in Cloud City. News from the Cloudy Fruit Farm stated that in the middle of the main road, Unsmiler, who had dominated the Four Seas, was passing by. Suddenly, a thief appeared from stealth. His face was covered with a black cloth, and with 2 swishes, he killed Unsmiler. Then, he left. Another witness from the Rogue Guild in Cloud City said that there was a man with a black cloth covering his face, holding a knife, who hacked Four Seas to death in front of the guild's entrance. Then he went for a stroll, turned around and hacked Four Seas again, then broke through the encirclement of several people and left. After that, there were people who analyzed the time when Four Seas was killed in the 2 locations, and found that there was a continuity. Combined with the mysterious black cloth covering both of their faces, they came to the conclusion, this was a very organized and premeditated assassination aimed specifically at Four Seas. Four Seas was an old ID, and many people were familiar with this name. Very quickly, some people connected it to the case from before. But after searching July Wildfire in the game, they found that it was still an unclaimed ID. Although some people still believed that July Wildfire was pulling the strings behind the scenes, they couldn't interview her, so there was no proof. This matter caused an uproar all over the city. How could the reincarnated Amethyst girls not know about it? July called the girls back to the guild office at the first instance. Originally, apart from Luoluo, the other girls didn't know about this matter, and they had to go back to what happened in the game. But now, the matter had expanded to the point where it couldn't be hidden. Just saying that it was because of the conflict during the mission that caused hatred? Other than Little Rain, no one would believe it. After July explained the whole story to everyone, she immediately received the unanimous support of the girls. After all, July didn't intend to have any entanglement with the other party. It was Four Seas who provoked and caused trouble first. Even the mild-tempered girls couldn't tolerate such a bitch. For example, the hot-tempered Fiercely had already kicked a bench, indicating that he wanted to rush out and finish Four Seas off again. Then, of course, he was held back by the girls. July said solemnly to everyone, because the other party's strength is obviously much stronger than ours, we've asked for help this time. What happened in Cloud City just now was probably done by them. But based on my understanding of Four Seas, killing him a few times like this probably won't scare him, so this matter is far from over. Everyone, be careful outside. It's best, don't go online for a few days. Sister July, hiding isn't the way to go, we should also fight. A girl said. But, Sister July, don't worry about us, it's a game. PK is also a part of the game. It's not like we want to be kings or anything. Won't we just drop a few levels if we die? What's there to be afraid of? Yeah. Everyone, don't argue. Luoluo stood up and said, dying and dropping levels isn't something to be afraid of, but the problem is that we can't die in vain. Reigning the Four Seas is the largest guild in Cloud City, with a total of 300 members. Just the level 30 players alone are more than our guild members. So this will be a very high-level PK battle. Who thinks that they can play a role in this PK? No one said anything. Even Fiercely, who was in the limelight in this PK simulation, didn't say anything. She didn't think much of it in her heart, but if she opened her mouth now, it was obvious that she wasn't giving Luoluo a way out. Although she was a hot-tempered person, a girl's mind was still meticulous. Seeing that no one said anything, Luoluo continued, so, everyone listen to July. Be careful and hide if you can. The rest of the matter, leave it to July, me, Fiercely, Little Rain, and the people we found to help. What do you guys think? The girls all nodded. They didn't have any objections to Luoluo's suggestion of 4 people. July was definitely going to participate no matter what, and Luoluo was the highest level cleric among the girls. Fiercely was the best at PK, and Little Rain was the highest level one. But when it came to the highest level, Little Rain weakly asked, aren't we going to call Qianli? What for? Fiercely said impatiently, he's a trash mage, what's the point of having a high level? July also nodded, let's not bother him. Let's go. Luoluo said, I'll say hello to the other side, we'll go meet up first. The four girls said as they walked out the door. Just as they reached the entrance of the street, they saw a black crowd in front of them. They had already been blocked by someone, and the person leading them was Non-Smiler, Little Seven, long time no see. Chapter 48. The four girls immediately wanted to turn back, but they found that someone had already come over from the other end of the street to block their retreat. July quickly sent a message in the guild channel. Everyone, stay in the room and don't come out. The girls all asked what was going on, but July only replied, listen to me. Looking back, the group of people blocking the way was moving forward. Whether it was intentional or not, they stopped in front of the entrance of Amethyst's guild. July's heart was in her throat, and she quickly reminded them in the guild channel not to come out. The girls were very obedient, hiding in the room and not moving. July finally let out a sigh of relief. One end of the street had already been blocked. Although this side was a relatively open intersection, the number of people that Non-Smilers had brought was not small. In addition, the crowd of onlookers had curiously gathered to fill the gaps, forming an impenetrable encirclement. With the strength of the four of them, it was impossible for them to break out. What do you want? July could only talk to the person she didn't even want to see. What? Non-Smiler asked, then laughed strangely, don't think that I don't know that you sent people to deal with me. But I won't hold this against you. Tell me who they are and we'll write it off. July laughed coldly, isn't it enough to be tricked by you once? Do you think I'll believe your nonsense a second time? Non-Smiler's smile became a little uncomfortable, I'm telling the truth this time. July shook her head and sighed, you can still laugh so freely after being killed 4 times. You're really an actor. Unsmiler's expression stiffened. Chiyue's words had clearly poked at his sore spot. In an instant, Unsmiler lost some of his patience. Raising his voice by an octave, he threatened, if you don't tell me who they are, I can only blame it on you. All right. How? You want me to drop 4 levels too? July said with a smile. Non-Smiler was once again speechless. Before he could retort, July added, I'm not level 30 yet. Even if I drop a level, it won't be a big loss. Non-Smiler's face turned green again. These words were not false at all. Due to the sudden increase in experience from level 30 onwards, Unsmiler had only dropped from level 30 to level 29, but the loss of experience was already enormous. He was one of the top players on the leaderboards and had accumulated quite a lot of experience when he was level 30. Currently, he had dropped from level 30 to level 26. Just these 4 levels alone could be said to have consumed half of his efforts since he entered the game. How could a Non-Smiler not be enraged? From his body to his spirit, Non-Smiler had been suffering from constant devastation. He really needed a breakthrough to vent. At this time, he gritted his teeth and said, all right. Since that's the case, I'll let you drop 4 levels first. The 4 of you, 1 level each. One of the people in the crowd wanted to rush into the arena, but he was stopped by someone beside him. What are you doing? Gu Fei turned to look at the Han family young master. Just as July and Non-Smiler were exchanging words, Luo had already sent a signal to the Han family young master. Little Ray Bar was very close to the street. The 6 of them quickly arrived at the scene, and squeezed in with the other people to watch the show. Seeing that both sides were at odds with each other, and that Non-Smiler was about to make a killing move, Gu Fei was determined to enter the arena to help, but he was resolutely stopped by the Han family young master. It's useless even if you go. The Han family young master sent a message to Gu Fei, they have too many people. Even if you go, you'll just be throwing your life away. What's the point? What do you have in mind? Asked Gu Fei. Just like that girl said, if they die, the loss is not great, fuck. Gu Fei broke away from the Han family young master's hand that was holding him. This isn't math. Gu Fei squeezed out of the crowd after saying this. In the arena, Non-Smiler waved his hand, and raining the four seas rushed out, surrounding July and the others in the middle. They were waiting for Non-Smiler to give the order, and then they would make a killing move. I'll give you one chance to back out. I'm sure you don't want to see your sisters die with you, right? Non-Smiler sneered with confidence. Compared to Chiyue who understood him, he understood Chiyue better. Go to hell. You despicable, shameless, and dirty thing. Someone answered before July could, and it was the bad-tempered Fiercely. Towards Non-Smiler's face, she despised him from the bottom of her heart. After quickly answering, she attacked even faster. With a stomp of her feet, she charged diagonally. It was the Grandmaster of Combat level 24 skill, Galloping Meteor, which she had used on Gu Fei that day. She increased her speed and attacked, all the way to Non-Smiler. Fiercely. July shouted from behind. Luo also hurriedly cast a healing spell on Fiercely. Just as she rushed out, another person from the crowd beside Non-Smiler also rushed out. The same posture, the same move, Galloping Meteor. The two Grandmaster of Combat's moves collided, and the outcome was determined by the strength and speed of both sides. Fiercely was obviously not a match for her opponent. She, who had rushed out, was knocked back by the opponent's Galloping Meteor. Galloping Meteor had the effect of sprinting. When Fiercely flew back, July and the other two who had come forward to support her were also injured. Non-Smiler laughed coldly. Just as he was about to order everyone to start killing, someone suddenly squeezed out of the crowd and stood in the middle of the arena. He asked suspiciously, "What's going on? Why are there so many people? What's going on? Why did Qianli rush out?" In the mercenary channel of the elite group, Sword Demon and the others asked one after another. Because this isn't a math problem. Han family young master replied in a bad mood, causing everyone to be at a loss. Everyone get ready for battle. Yu Tian, find a place to ambush and prepare to snipe. Sword Demon, you cover your face and hide. Wu Shang, how long can you keep using Whirlwind Slash? Brother Yu, who is this Grandmaster of Combat from reigning the four seas? Han family young master asked in succession. Feng Xing, one of the four cores of reigning the four seas. Brother Yu replied. The scene is getting bigger and bigger. TSK. Everyone get ready. If Qianli gets the chance, everyone immediately support him. Han family young master said. What if he doesn't get the chance? Yu Tian Shinming asked. Then go back and continue drinking. Han family young master said. Everyone, Gu Fei, who had squeezed into the crowd, attracted the attention of many people. July and the others looked at him in surprise. Xiao Yu was about to call out when July grabbed her. Xiao Yu shook her head. Xiao Yu didn't know what was going on, but she still obediently shut her mouth. What's going on? What's going on? Why are there so many people? Can we still go over? Gu Fei pretended to be ignorant as he looked into the distance. Friend, please make way. No Laugh said. I want to go over. Gu Fei pointed to the other side of the street. Let's go somewhere else. We have something to do here. No Laugh said. What's the matter? Gu Fei's face was full of curiosity. But how could No Laugh explain this? Could he start from the grudge in the online game from N years ago? Of course, he didn't have the patience. He immediately released his aura and said arrogantly, haven't you heard of reigning the four seas? We have something to do here. You can go around. Or wait on the side. Oh, then I'll wait. Gu Fei retreated, crossed his arms in front of his chest, and stood beside No Laugh. Everyone's eyes were once again focused on him. There's a chance. Sword Demon said in the mercenary channel. There's no chance. At most, he'll strike No Laugh once more. What's the use of this situation? Han family young master didn't think much of it. Keep your voice down. Qianli can see what you say in the mercenary channel. Be careful that he doesn't strike you when he comes back. Yu Tian Shinming said. I'm afraid of him. Han family young master said this, but his heart suddenly felt a little scared. If Gu Fei's broken knife came to greet him, he really didn't know how to deal with it. No Laugh looked at Gu Fei who was standing next to him carelessly, and finally smiled helplessly. He waved his hand at everyone and said, don't worry about him. Everyone, do it. Do it, do it. Gu Fei also waved his hand, but he made a turn midway, and 2 fingers suddenly stabbed towards No Laugh's eyes. Even if he waved his fingers in front of his eyes normally, he would feel an inexplicable panic, let alone right now when Gu Fei was stabbing at his eyes with such vigor. No Laugh panicked, and subconsciously lowered his head and raised his arm to block. A trace of a sympathetic smile flashed across Gu Fei's lips. He opened his 5 fingers, grabbed No Laugh's wrist, and twisted it backwards. No Laugh's 5 fingers couldn't help but open up freely, and the dagger in his hand fell downwards in a very physical way. Gu Fei's other hand had already caught it, and then he let go of No Laugh. In a flash, he had already retreated to the foot of the wall. Everything happened in the blink of an eye, and even No Laugh himself only realized after 5 seconds that the dagger in his hand had disappeared. Gu Fei leaned against the wall, holding No Laugh's dagger and appraising it. Wind Whisper, its attack isn't low. Agility plus 18, attack speed plus 10%, thief skill vanish, skill cooldown 15 minutes, not bad. Let me try. Oh, class doesn't match, so it can only be used by thieves. Gu Fei said regretfully. The Han family young master and the others who were watching from the crowd were relieved. It turned out that the vanish skill that No Laugh suddenly used wasn't a skill scroll, but an additional skill on his dagger. Before players reached the level where they could learn the vanish skill, this dagger could be said to have a very high value. And considering the difficulty of leveling up in this parallel world, this kind of value could obviously last for a very long time. For such an exquisite dagger to be snatched away by Gu Fei just like that, No Laugh for a moment couldn't believe it was real. Do you still want the dagger? If you do, hurry up and tell them to stop. Gu Fei glanced over there. July's group of 4 was surrounded, and the situation was already worrying. Stop, stop, stop for a moment. No Laugh hurriedly shouted. The people over there stopped, and looked back blankly. As soon as they heard No Laugh's order, they rushed forward to fight, and didn't notice that at the same time, No Laugh's dagger had also been snatched away by the person beside him who was also shouting, attack. No Laugh's face was ashen. Gu Fei played with the dagger in his hand, his expression satisfied. Tell your people to disperse, I'll return the dagger to you immediately. No Laugh hesitated. Would someone really give up on such an exquisite equipment so easily after obtaining it? Although it was a little hard to believe, there was really nothing he could do. Washing people clean, that would only give them some mental stimulation. Losing the equipment was an incalculable loss. After all, material civilization was the foundation of spiritual civilization. Chapter 49. The non-smiler glanced at Feng Xing, one of the 4 core members of reigning the 4 seas. Feng Xing seemed to support the non-smiler's idea of prioritizing equipment, and nodded at him. The non-smiler raised his hand. Everyone, step back. The reigning players stepped back, and Gu Fei pursed his lips. Tell them to leave first. The non-smiler nodded without hesitation. After all, it was much easier to find Qiyue and the others in the game than to get an exquisite dagger. Let's go together. Xiao Yu came over to pull Gu Fei. Gu Fei smiled, but before he could say anything, the non-smiler had already yelled, he's not allowed to leave. Gu Fei nodded, and said to the 4 girls, you guys go first. The players from Reigning the Seas parted to form a path for them. Gu Fei gave Little Rain a gentle push and said, go. The 4 girls began to walk out of the crowd, and Xiao Yu looked back from time to time. Go straight to the safe zone. Gu Fei sent her a message, and then quietly stood in place, waiting for news. Have you gone far enough? Can you return my dagger now? The non-smiler could see through Gu Fei's thoughts, so he didn't rush him. Gu Fei smiled again. If I return your dagger, can I leave? Of course. The non-smiler replied without hesitation. Gu Fei smiled again. No. You. The non-smiler was furious. Lying won't end well. Gu Fei smiled from ear to ear. The non-smiler froze, and then said angrily, "Fuck, there's a spy." Just now, Yutian Shinming had revealed to Gu Fei that the non-smiler had already given the order in the guild to kill Gu Fei as soon as he got the dagger back. He had also hidden people in the Mage Academy, swearing to kill Gu Fei. Gu Fei immediately changed his original intention and decided not to return the dagger to the non-smiler. Giving the non-smiler a taste of his own medicine had always been Gu Fei's support. Since the lie had been exposed, there was no point in pretending to be a good cop if he didn't laugh. When he was still dreaming about his dagger, Feng Xing had already made up his mind for him. Kill him. Don't stop until he releases the wind's secret word. Feng Xing gave a resonant growl, while another punch had already swooshed towards Ji Hao. Gu Fei did not panic. He did not dodge or evade. He raised his arm and stabbed out with his staff. Feng Xing moved fast, but Gu Fei raised his arm even faster. As a result, it looked like Gu Fei had raised his stick and waited for Feng Xing, while Feng Xing puffed out his chest and bumped right into it. This move launched by Gu Fei was quite skillful as well. He aimed at Feng Xing's acupoints. Normally, with Gu Fei's power, attacking the acupoints of others wouldn't be too effective. However, at this moment, things were different. Feng Xing bumped right into Gu Fei's body, and as a result, Gu Fei's arms weren't strong enough to withstand Feng Xing's attack and were sent flying away, while half of Feng Xing's body was numb and sore. This was the common sense of physics, forces were mutual. However, ordinary people didn't have the accuracy of Gu Fei's attacks, and they didn't know where the acupoints were. It was impossible for them to use this common sense of physics. The players of the Four Seas were dumbfounded as they watched Gu Fei, a magician, defeat the 6th-ranked Grandmaster of Combat in this parallel world with one strike. They didn't know what to do. Not Laughing was worried about his dagger, and couldn't care less about Feng Xing's life. He yelled at the top of his lungs, "What are you waiting for? Go!" At this moment, a sweet voice came from above Gu Fei's head, "Give me your hand." The houses in the game weren't flat roofs, but roofs with tiles. At this moment, half of a pretty face could be seen from the roof. Compared to the red and black tiles, it was really beautiful. An arm was hanging down from the roof, waving at Gu Fei. Everyone was stunned. Only Gu Fei didn't seem surprised at all. He raised his hand and jumped, connecting with his opponent's arm. His opponent swung her arm upwards, and Gu Fei used his leg to borrow some strength from the wall. The two complemented each other perfectly. Gu Fei flew up the wall like a falcon. "You're quite strong." Gu Fei laughed. If this was in real life, how many girls would be able to pull someone up the wall so easily? "You're pretty agile too." Shi Xiaotian helped Gu Fei up from the roof. From below, Gu Fei looked like he was flying, but in reality, his strength was lacking when he was in midair. It took everything he had not to fall off halfway, and naturally, he didn't care how he looked when he landed on the roof. "Let's go." Shi Xiaotian had already taken the lead. Gu Fei looked down and saw Non-Smiler instructing the players of Reigning the Four Seas to build a human ladder, find tools, and find stepping stones to help them get up to the roof. After making eye contact with the Han family young master and the others who were still mixed in the crowd, Gu Fei also sprinted up the roof. Shi Xiaotian's familiarity with the situation on the roof was beyond Gu Fei's expectations. She knew which places to go up, which places to go down, and which places to jump to the opposite roof like the back of her hand. From the looks of it, she was trained. She probably used these places to escape. The screams of the players of Reigning the Four Seas were soon left far behind. Shi Xiaotian led Gu Fei around the rooftops and finally reached the clock tower of Cloud City. Once they reached the roof, it was the highest point in Cloud City. From here, Gu Fei could clearly see the players of Reigning the Four Seas weaving through the streets of Cloud City. He couldn't help but laugh. You can still laugh? Shi Xiaotian said from behind. Why? In the future, Reigning the Four Seas will definitely come looking for trouble with you. Shi Xiaotian said. If that's the case, I'm afraid you'll only have more trouble than me, right? Gu Fei laughed. Me? Shi Xiaotian shook his head. I'm not as afraid of trouble as you think I am. Levels and the like aren't important to me. So, even if I get chased down and killed, it's no big deal. Besides, when it comes to dealing with trouble, I'm much more professional than you are. Of course, practice makes perfect. Gu Fei said sarcastically. I'm a professional swindler, there are amateurs among swindlers. Gu Fei interrupted with a smile. Shi Xiaotian didn't pay attention to this question. Like Gu Fei, he looked at the running crowd in the city and said, professional swindlers have their own rules. Among our swindlers, there is absolutely no way to deceive the feelings of others. We use people's greed to set bait and lure the fish. This is our method. You mean the person who deceives the feelings of others, the non-smiler? Shi Xiaotian nodded. It said that not long after July was tricked into leaving the game, the non-smiler was tricked into losing everything. This person, was it you? Gu Fei asked. Shi Xiaotian nodded again. Gu Fei let out a long sigh. Was it July who asked you for help? Shi Xiaotian shook his head. No, I didn't even know her at that time. I went on my own. Even to this day, she only has a slight suspicion that I was the one who did it. I have never said a word about it. Then why did you still go? Gu Fei was puzzled. Shi Xiaotian was silent for a long time before he finally said, it's a hobby. Hobby? Gu Fei was confused. I like swindling, Shi Xiaotian said. For me, it's as fascinating as an art. Your hobby is really unique. Gu Fei laughed dryly. Unfortunately, my hobby can't be used in real life, so I can only enjoy it in the game, Shi Xiaotian said. What did you say? Gu Fei, who had been relatively indifferent, suddenly turned to look at Shi Xiaotian. What? Do you think I should go around swindling people in real life? Shi Xiaotian asked. You can't even do it in the game. A wry smile appeared on Shi Xiaotian's face. You won't understand how depressing it feels to have something you love but have nowhere to use it. Gu Fei was depressed. How could he not understand? However, Shi Xiaotian's swindling was a swindling that harmed the world, while his was a cultural heritage that needed to be further developed. How could the two be compared? Gu Fei kept shaking his head. Why are you shaking your head? Shi Xiaotian asked. Nothing. It's just that the feeling you mentioned, I might have a little. I can understand a little. Gu Fei firmly believed that the feeling of not being able to use swindling and not being able to use kung fu were different, so he could only, slightly, feel a little. Obviously, Shi Xiaotian didn't even believe a little of his words, so he just shook his head. In any case, because of this, slightly, similar feeling, Gu Fei's bad impression of Shi Xiaotian changed a little. At this time, in Gu Fei's heart, he couldn't help but feel that they were both in the same boat, which would make him beat himself up. This kind of thinking is too dangerous. How can I be reduced to the same level as a swindler? All right. I have to go. Anyway, thank you very much for today. Gu Fei felt that it was better to stay away from this swindler as soon as possible. If he stayed here any longer, his mind would be corrupted. Gu Fei, who had always been calm and confident, actually looked like he was running away when he left. He went down the bell tower and looked up. Shi Xiaotian was still standing in the same place, looking down. Gu Fei waved at her and chose a street to walk in. Getting away from his corrupted thoughts, Gu Fei still had business to attend to. Finding an empty corner, Gu Fei put on the black cloth, put on his straw hat, put away his staff, and took out the baptism of flames. When Gu Fei received the information that Yutian Shinming had revealed, he had already decided that he would not let this scoundrel off easily. In the mercenary channel, the Han family young master and the others were shouting and asking Gu Fei where he was going. Gu Fei calmly replied, "Don't worry about me, where is the non-smiler? Why are you looking for him?" Han family young master asked. "Kill him." Gu Fei's answer was simple and to the point. Chapter 50. Non-smiler ran around Cloud City like a madman. In just an hour, he had lost 4 levels, and now he had lost his most powerful weapon. Non-smiler's pain was the greatest among all the players in the game. When he commanded the guild members to climb up to the roof, Gu Fei and Shi Xiaotian had already skipped far away. Non-smiler only cared about yelling, "Chase them! Chase them!" The guild members ran around like headless flies. Quite a few people lost their patience after scurrying around. Some of them actually scurried out of Cloud Peak City to level up. Some of them casually accepted a quest and went back to work. There were also some who directly ran into the safe zone, saying that they had something to do and quickly logged off. In the end, it was just a game. Although non-smiler was the core of the guild, everything had to be based on benefits. Before the guild members had tasted any sweetness, even the core members wouldn't be so unconditionally obedient. Previously, it was just because this was a guild activity that they had to participate in. That was why they came with the mentality of helping. But now, after a long time without any results, no one was willing to waste their time like this, except for non-smiler's few best friends. Non-smiler led these few best friends to search for Gu Fei through the streets and alleys, constantly asking others in the guild channel if they had found anything. At first, there were people who replied, no, but later on, they were too lazy to care about him, except for some kind-hearted people who had bad intentions. "I saw that guy on Shell Street. I'm following him," Yutian Shinming shouted. "Keep an eye on him, we'll be there soon." Non-smiler led the others and ran like crazy, but after a while, Yutian Shinming would immediately shout, "Ah!" He turned a corner and disappeared. Non-smiler ran for nothing. This repeated 4 times, and non-smiler went crazy. "What the fuck are you doing?" Yutian Shinming said mysteriously, "I think he has his eyes on me, otherwise why do I always see him everywhere I go?" Non-smiler felt like vomiting blood. Looking at the few best friends who were still following him, he wanted to cry, but there were no tears. Suddenly, he felt a patch of darkness above his head. He looked up and saw a figure flying down from the roof. He held a saber in his hand high up in the sky. Under the sunlight, the saber was a little dazzling. The tattered straw hat, the black cloth that covered his eyes, the long robe that fluttered in the wind, non-laughing only had time to shout, "Ah!" After giving the non-smiler a head-on blow, Gu Fei landed on the ground. Then, he spun 2 steps on the spot, and 2 more blades spun on the non-smiler's body. Fire magic was activated, and in the midst of the flames, the non-smiler disappeared. Gu Fei strode off into the distance. It was only then that the few buddies of the non-smilers came to their senses, shouting and chasing after Gu Fei. Once again returning to the Thieves' Guild, non-smiler was sobbing in the guild channel. The guild members were numb to it. Come to think of it, the current level of non-smiler was level 25. In reigning the 4 seas, he could be counted as one of the last few. Apart from that, he had also lost his exquisite dagger. Core member. In this early age where one needed to rely on strength and not connections to become a core member, most of the members only had one word in their minds, "Bah." After all, this was a new game. A new guild couldn't form a strong cohesiveness in such a short amount of time. The reason they were able to organize such a large operation before was mostly because of the habits they had developed in the previous game. As soon as they saw that the guild was in trouble, they quickly rushed over to help. After causing such a ruckus for so long, that bit of inertia had already disappeared. Everyone reconsidered their values and benefits, whether or not it was worth it to help this level 25 non-smiler. The answer was obviously no. But not everyone thought this way. The other 3 core members of the guild felt that this matter had greatly hurt the reputation of reigning the 4 seas. They were the #1 guild in Cloud City. They were prepared to make a name for themselves in the game. It hadn't even been a few days, and one of the core members of the guild had been killed like this. Wouldn't they become a laughingstock in the outside world? The 3 of them couldn't take this lying down, but this was mainly from the perspective of the guild. As for Non-Smiler, it was purely because of his high level and good equipment that they had recruited him into the guild. They hadn't had the time to build a deep friendship. In the end, the 3 core members came to a decision: they had to make an appearance. Otherwise, wouldn't reigning the 4 seas be looked down upon by others? At this time, news of Non-Smiler's 6th death had arrived. Non-Smiler, who had been crying in the safe zone for a long time, saw that there didn't seem to be any reaction from the guild, so he cursed the fickleness of human nature. At this time, he received news from a few of his best friends. They said that the masked guy was being chased closely by them, and that he hadn't been able to shake them off. Non-Smiler was overjoyed. He rushed out of the safe zone and ran in the direction of the news, wanting to give Gu Fei a perfect interception. In the end, although he tried to stop him, he couldn't. Gu Fei, who was striding towards him, kicked him to the ground, and then stabbed him twice with his sword to end his life. Non-Smiler's level dropped to 24. After receiving this news, the 3 core members of reigning the 4 seas could no longer sit still. They had to take action. After all, reigning the 4 seas was founded by the 3 of them. Their rallying power in the guild was much stronger than Non-Smiler's. Previously, it was Feng Xing, the Grandmaster of Combat, who had raised his arm in the guild and rallied hundreds of guild members valiantly and energetically through the Cloud Crop Farm and into the Cloud Valley. They thought that this matter could be easily resolved, but who would have thought that it would become so troublesome? Up until now, the 3 of them still hadn't figured out the whole story. They only heard that the person who had been attacking Non-Smiler and the person who had just snatched his dagger were not the same person. Just as the 3 of them were about to take action, they suddenly received a message from the guild leader of Amethyst, July. She wanted to talk to the 3 of them face to face. Reflection: go and organize some people. Feng Xing and I will go meet her. Another core member of reigning the 4 seas, who was also the guild leader, Unsworn Sword, said. Not long after, the 2 parties met at the agreed-upon place, Little Ray's Bar. In the entire Cloud City, only Little Ray's Bar had a private room, so it was more convenient to talk. July, Luo, fiercely, and Little Rain came straight after leaving the safe zone, while Unsworn Sword and Feng Xing came alone. Before this, Feng Xing had already fought against the 4 girls, and had even exchanged a punch with Lai Lai. Which one of you is guild leader July? Unsworn Sword asked after sitting down. I am. July said, wait a moment, we still have a friend who hasn't come yet. As they were talking, Gu Fei rushed in, lifted the curtain and shouted, sorry, I'm late. Since he was going to attack someone, he also had to come over to participate in the negotiation. Today, Gu Fei was quite busy. As Gu Fei walked in, Unsworn Sword received a message. Non-Smiler had been killed for the 7th time, and was currently level 23. Unsworn Sword didn't have the time to deal with it. He looked at Gu Fei and asked, this is? He had heard that Amethyst was an all-girls guild, so he obviously didn't know about Gu Fei. Feng Xing immediately introduced Gu Fei to him, emphasizing that this was the guy who snatched Non-Smiler's dagger. Unsworn Sword was in awe. No matter what, someone who could directly snatch a top-tier equipment from someone's hands was a ruthless character. Unsworn Sword sheathed his sword. Because they were going to negotiate, the 4 girls sat together on the left side, leaving the right side for the other 2. When Gu Fei arrived, there were no more seats on his side, so he had no choice but to sit in the middle, facing the door. Those who didn't know would think that Gu Fei was hosting a meeting. How much do you know about today's matter, Guild Leader Unsworn? July began. Well, I only know that our brother, Non-Smiler, was killed 7 times in a row. His top-tier dagger, Wind Whisper, was also stolen. The cause of this matter seems to be because of a bit of your past with him, guild leader July. Unsworn Sword said. Then, yesterday, during our guild mission, you guys deliberately caused trouble and killed 12 of our girls. Does guild leader Unsworn know about this? July asked. I don't know. Unsworn Sword was at a loss, turning his head to look at Feng Xing. Yesterday, Non-Smiler seemed to have called people to PK with him in the guild. I asked him what was going on, and he said it was nothing, just a small matter, just a few brothers would be enough. After that, a few of them had nothing to do and went with him. Most importantly, he and his few friends, said Feng Xing. Now, guild leader Unsworn, you know the cause of this matter. July said. Guild leader July, what do you mean? Unsworn Sword asked. Nothing much, it's just a game, it's all about fighting and killing. PK happens every day. It's just that, this matter was really caused by my personal relationship with Non-Smiler. So, if your guild wants to stand up for Non-Smiler, please don't look for trouble with my sisters and this friend. July said as she pointed at Gu Fei. This friend seems to have stolen something from Non-Smiler, this. Unsworn Sword wanted to make a fuss about this matter, but unexpectedly, Gu Fei suddenly put his hand into his pocket, took out the wind code word, and threw it on the table. The thing is here, whoever wants it can take it. Everyone was shocked. Although this was a dagger that mages didn't have much use for, it could also be sold to thieves who needed it. It was definitely a great fortune. A fat piece of meat that was already in their mouths, would they really let it go so easily? After hearing Feng Xing talk about Gu Fei stealing the dagger, Unsworn Sword thought that this guy was quite brave, but looking at it now, it didn't seem like much. Was he already afraid before they even said anything? Unsworn Sword laughed in his heart, but Gu Fei had already stood up. You guys take the dagger back. As for Non-Smiler, I heard that he's still being chased by people. Looks like no one can save him now. Brother, a person like Non-Smiler doesn't deserve so many people to stand up for him. Just tell him that the condition for taking back the wind code word is for him to leave the guild. See what he will choose. I still have something to do, so I'll be leaving first. You guys talk. As he said this, Gu Fei walked out of the room, turned, walked past 3 rooms, and immediately entered another one. Where's the water I wanted? Hurry up and bring it over, I'm so tired. Gu Fei shouted as soon as he entered. Han family young master pushed a glass of water in front of him. Gu Fei picked up the glass of water and gulped it down, while Yutian Shinming said, Non-Smiler left the safe zone pretty quickly this time. Right now, he's leading a few people to curse and cry in the guild. Fuck. Why didn't you say so earlier? Gu Fei threw down the glass and ran out. Non-Smiler really can't smile anymore. Han family young master mumbled. Chapter 51. Gu Fei exited the tavern and immediately ran in the direction of the Thieves' Guild. He didn't need to know the exact location of Non-Smiler because the current situation in Cloud City was, where Non-Smiler was, there would be many people. Everyone in the city heard about this never-ending chase. From level 30 to level 23, it took less than an hour, and the pursuit seemed to be continuing. The rumor about the masked killer had already spread like wildfire. Everyone wanted to see it with their own eyes, and the most effective way was, of course, to follow Non-Smiler. Fortunately, the chat window of the parallel world didn't have a public channel like the world of online games, or else there would definitely be many players who would send Non-Smiler to the trading window just to see the killer's glory. As he gradually approached the Thieves' Guild, Gu Fei really did see a gathering of people. He squeezed his way in to take a look and saw Non-Smiler and a few of his best friends walking in the middle of the street. Behind them was a large group of players. The group that Gu Fei belonged to circled around and ran to the intersection in front to take a look. There were many people squeezing on the rooftops on both sides of the street. Non-Smiler was obviously unhappy to be surrounded by people like this. But he could only swallow his anger. Because there were too many people, if he scolded a few words, Non-Smiler would drop another level before the killer came. Gu Fei smiled slightly. Sorry. Excuse me. Gu Fei apologized along the way and left the crowd. He found a place where he could go upstairs and climbed up the wall. The players on the rooftops were all focused on Non-Smiler on the street below. Gu Fei secretly changed into his killer outfit and tiptoed behind the others to find a place where Non-Smiler was walking. Brother, excuse me. Gu Fei patted the person in front of him. The person turned around impatiently, but as soon as he saw Gu Fei, his eyes immediately lit up. Gu Fei hurriedly made a gesture to keep quiet. The person covered his mouth with both hands and nodded furiously, then used his shoulder to push the guy next to him. What are you doing? The person next to him turned his head. When he saw Gu Fei, his eyes immediately lit up. Gu Fei hurriedly made a gesture for him to keep quiet. That person covered his mouth with both hands and nodded desperately. Then, in the blink of an eye, a group of players covered their mouths with their hands while their eyes shone. They quietly opened up a path for Gu Fei, and Gu Fei slowly appeared through the gap. The players across the street burst into commotion. Their eyes immediately shone, and Gu Fei quickly made a gesture. Why was it suddenly so quiet? Non-Smiler found it a little strange. With so many people gathered together, the chattering noise was not small. But just now, it suddenly became very quiet. It was so quiet that he could hear the wind above his head. The Non-Smiler hurriedly raised his head, only to see a red light cleaving towards him. The red light made the unsmiling man's face pale. Soon, he was far away from the crowd. The few buddies of the Non-Smiler had also gone crazy. They had been following the Non-Smiler, and had been very, very careful. This time, when they saw so many onlookers, they felt that even if the killer wanted to strike, they would be aware of it. Who would have thought that so many people would wholeheartedly cooperate with the killer? Nowadays, morals were really degenerating. There was no sympathy at all. The few guys thought in grief and indignation, but they could not turn their grief and indignation into strength. Once again, Gu Fei easily shook off their entanglement. The onlookers had already prepared a way out for him. Gu Fei flashed away and quickly shook off the entanglement of the Non-Smiler's companions. However, he could not shake off the onlookers' pursuit. Many people followed in Gu Fei's footsteps. For one thing, everyone was curious about the killer's true face. For another, following this killer was much easier than following the Non-Smiler, wasn't it? Gu Fei deeply understood that the power of fans was infinite. At this rate, the Non-Smiler's buddies could quickly catch up with the crowd and find him. Gu Fei could only continue to run like his life depended on it. He did not know how many laps he had gone in Cloud City, but Gu Fei still could not shake off the crowd behind him. After all, there was strength in numbers. Some people had clearly been shaken off before, but at the next intersection, Gu Fei was pleasantly surprised to find that the person in front was looking for him in a daze, and he just happened to bump into him. Such an exchange of old and new led to Gu Fei always carrying a string of tales. But the heavens did not disappoint those who tried. In the process of wandering through the streets and alleys, Gu Fei finally encountered the dazed Non-Smiler once. Was there any need to hesitate? He rushed over on horseback, raised his hand, and killed the Non-Smiler. In the flash of white light, Gu Fei vaguely saw that something seemed to have fallen to the ground. Behind him, a player cried out, "Dropped equipment." But then everyone found that Gu Fei had run away without looking back. Everyone was stunned, and suddenly rushed madly toward the item dropped by the Non-Smiler. No matter how tempting the truth of the mysterious killer was, it could not compare to a piece of equipment that might be of the highest quality. Just like that, Gu Fei unexpectedly got rid of the entanglement and ran into a street. When he saw that there was no one around, he quickly tore off his disguise and let out a long breath. At the same time, Unsworn Sword, who was still negotiating with July in Little Ray's bar, received 2 reports of the non-smiler being killed in a row. Counting on his fingers, the non-smiler was now level 21. Unsworn Sword was a little uneasy. Part of it was because he was worried about the face of his guild, the other part was actually a little afraid. Although the non-smiler was miserable now, this person was indeed a powerful character through and through. Otherwise, Unsworn Sword and the others would not have roped him into the 4 Seas and even given him the status of a core member. The non-smiler had no resistance at all in front of him. What if it was him? The Sword of No Oath felt a chill down its spine. Yes, he was the leader of the largest guild in the clouds with 300 members, but this did not mean that he could take 300 people out to level up every day. This assassin-like character came and went like a ghost. In such a short time, he had already killed the non-smiler to level 9. It was really too scary. What was even more frightening was that currently, this guy was only attacking alone. According to the previous report of the non-smiler's party being wiped out, the other party had 6 people at that time. If the 6 of them acted together, wouldn't that be even more frightening? The fear in his heart tilted the balance of the negotiation. Was there still a need to waste energy on a level 21 guy? He had already been killed 9 times. How could the guild's face be redeemed? Moreover, the other party's current spearhead was focused on the non-smiler. If the guild began to officially support the non-smiler with great fanfare, wouldn't the other party's target be everyone in the guild? Unsworn Sword deeply understood the pain of the enemy in the dark while he was in the light. After weighing the pros and cons, he finally made up his mind. After a long breath, he said, "Leader July, what do you think? We will now banish the non-smiler from the guild. You guys solve your own problems." Unsworn. The first to be shocked by this decision was Feng Xing, who was beside Unsworn Sword. Unsworn Sword looked at him, but didn't explain anything. Naturally, July and the others were also very surprised. They never imagined that Unsworn Sword would make such a big concession. Banishing the non-smiler from the guild meant that they had nothing to do with the non-smiler. In other words, Unhindered had retreated on this matter. "Leader Unsworn, you're very reasonable. I'm impressed." Luo offered a very artistic compliment. July was still a little confused. She felt that she hadn't said any strong words to attack the other party. Why did the other party have such a strong concession? While she was still in a daze, Unsworn Sword and Feng Xing had already stood up. "Then we'll be going back. This dagger. I think we should take it back. It can be considered an explanation for the non-smiler." July nodded. Unsworn Sword picked up the Wind Whisper and walked out of Little Ray's bar with Feng Xing. "Why?" Feng Xing asked the moment they walked out. "The other party is too strong. You saw it too." In just a short while, the non-smiler was killed twice. Unsworn Sword said, "Are you afraid?" "It's not just me. I'm afraid for you guys. I'm afraid for the entire guild. If such a person sets his eyes on any one of you, do you have the confidence to resist?" Unsworn Sword said. "What are you afraid of? Let him come." "You're not afraid, but that doesn't mean the 300 members are not afraid. When everyone is in a panic and we can't solve it, can the guild still exist?" Feng Xing didn't speak. "Let's go. Return the Wind Whisper to the non-smiler. We'll have an explanation for him." Unsworn Sword said. "Who the hell are these people?" Feng Xing waved his fist angrily. The grievance in his heart was very hard to bear. Remember it first. For a gentleman to take revenge, 10 years is never too late. Feng Xing helplessly nodded. In Little Ray's bar, July and the other 3 were excited about the development of this matter. Now that he doesn't have the support of the biggest guild, and his level is so low, we don't have to be afraid of him. July said happily. That guy chasing him is so strong. Fiercely's eyes were like stars. Who the hell is he? Sister Luoluo. I don't know either. Luoluo shook her head. Apart from the leader of their mercenary group, he didn't reveal the identities of the other members to me. Now everyone outside is saying that this person is a mage. According to what I know, this is a mage who can challenge the bandit leader Suatu alone. Too strong, Luoluo, contact him and see if you can arrange a meeting, so that you can thank him in person. July said. How do you thank him? With your body? Luoluo smiled. What nonsense are you talking about? July said indifferently. Xiaoyu suddenly let out a cheer and jumped up. What's wrong, Xiaoyu? The three girls were puzzled. Can I go do the quest now? Xiaoyu asked. Go. But still be careful. July said. It's fine. Non-Smiler doesn't have the time right now, the chase is still going on. Luoluo said. Sister Luoluo, you're sitting here too. How do you know so much about the outside world? Fiercely felt strange. I'm talking to their leader privately, he told me. Luoluo said. In another private room 3 rooms away from the 4 girls, everyone was criticizing the Han family young master. Why don't you drink? Why are you always in a daze? Don't be noisy. Han family young master said, I'm in the middle of a business discussion with my employer. We've worked so hard this time, no matter what, we have to charge more. It's what we should do. It's what we should do. The 4 nodded. Then this time, is it Qianli who gets the biggest share again? Brother, you asked carefully. Sword Demon nodded, it's what we should do. Everyone burst into tears. We're just a bunch of workers. Yutian Xinming wailed, Qianli, I hate you. Achoo. Gu Fei, who had just killed Non-Smiler for the 10th time, sneezed. Today's really tiring. Gu Fei muttered to himself. But, it wasn't over yet, the masked killer is running away. A scream rang out, and a group of players ran forward, forming a human formation for a moment, and then a human formation for a moment. Chapter 52. Unsmiler, who had fallen to level 20, was completely stunned. He stood motionlessly in the Rogue Guild, allowing the surrounding players to point at him. Did you see that? The 11th place Rogue EXP leaderboard has now been defeated to level 20. TSK. Fuck, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and come out, I want to see the masked killer. Ha, I've already seen him twice. I chased him for 5 blocks. Why isn't he coming out yet? I'm dying of anxiety. The players were all anxious, wishing Unsmiler wouldn't hurry up and come out of the safe zone to die. If it wasn't for the fact that physical contact was prohibited after logging out of the safe zone, the situation of being thrown out of the safe zone to be killed as Gu Fei suggested would have already happened to Unsmiler. The masked killer didn't come out, but the players saw Unsworn Sword and Feng Xing. These two were like Unsmiler, core members of Reigning the Four Seas. However, the players who knew the inside story knew that Reigning the Four Seas was formed by Unsworn Sword, Feng Xing, and a player called Reflection of Years. Unsmiler was just a latecomer. The two saw the large crowd, but didn't say anything, walking straight to Unsmiler in the safe zone. Unsmiler. Unsworn Sword called him. Unsmiler raised his head, his eyes a deathly gray. The reincarnated Amethyst's people came to talk to me. Unsworn Sword said. Unsmiler didn't say anything, quietly listening. They said that they can return your Wind Whisper, but on the condition that you leave Reigning the Four Seas. Unsworn Sword's eyes shone as he looked at Unsmiler. What do you think? Unsmiler's gray eyes lit up again. That's easy. I'll leave the guild first, and I'll come back when I get the Wind Whisper. Unsworn Sword's eyes instantly became spirited. This Unsmiler really was a rotten person. How could he come up with such a wretched idea in an instant? This scammer's habits were clear as day. Unsworn Sword suddenly felt that kicking this guy out of the guild was definitely worth it in the long run. If one's character wasn't good, everything would be difficult. As he thought, Unsworn Sword took out the Wind Whisper and tossed it to Unsmiler. That's it. After saying that, Unsworn Sword had already turned around and left with Feng Xing. What does that mean? The non-smiler was stunned. He soon received an answer. System notification: due to repeated violations of guild rules, player Unsmiler has been expelled from reigning the Four Seas. Please take this as a warning to other guild members. No oath, what do you mean? The non-smiler roared. When people were angry, they would often smash things to vent their anger. Unsmiler had already raised his hand, but he quickly remembered that he had just retrieved the wind codeword and hurriedly pulled it back into his pocket. Fuck! Non-laughing roared. Fuck! The crowd hissed. Everyone was hoping that non-smiler would throw out the wind codeword in a daze. Gu Fei, who was mixed in the crowd, also rubbed his palms together. This time, the non-smiler had been hiding in the safe zone for a long time. Now that he had gotten his precious dagger back, would he happily come out for a stroll? In the end, Unsmiler put away the wind codeword and quickly went offline. Tisk! The crowd hissed again. Seeing that there was no good show to watch, they finally dispersed. Gu Fei followed the dispersing crowd in disappointment. Suddenly, he received a message from July. What are you doing? You're back in the guild. After Unsmiler went offline, Gu Fei had nothing to do at the moment. He walked through a few streets and arrived at Amethyst's guild. There were already quite a few girls gathered in the room. Gu Fei was probably the last to arrive. As soon as he entered, he heard July's happy announcement: Unsmiler has been kicked out of reigning the Four Seas. The girls cheered. Gu Fei stood alone in a corner and smiled. His heart was filled with a sense of achievement. Sister Luo Luo, it's all thanks to the mercenary group you found. They're amazing. Who are they? The girls asked curiously. Luo Luo said regretfully, I've only seen their leader. The others didn't show up. They also covered their faces when they attacked. It seems like they didn't want to expose their identities. July nodded. I wanted to thank them in person, especially the mage among them. It seems like I shouldn't cause any trouble for them. The girls felt that it was a pity, especially Fiercely. Her face was filled with endless regret. I really want to know who that mage is. Gu Fei listened quietly and maintained his smile. However, the girls did not know what Gu Fei had done in the dark, but they could see it in the open. July continued to clap her hands. Other than Lualua's mercenary group, we actually have Qinli to thank for this. Thanks to him stealing Unsmiler's exquisite dagger, the four of us were able to escape just now. Now we have a powerful bargaining chip when we negotiate with reigning the Four Seas. This time, the girls' emotions were not as high as before. It wasn't that they had a deep prejudice against Gu Fei. The main thing was that they had always treated Gu Fei and the others with indifference. Now that he had helped them a lot, they immediately showed their fiery enthusiasm, which was a bit embarrassing. The girls were relatively thin-skinned and couldn't accept such a big change in attitude. For a moment, they couldn't get over it. However, there were exquisite equipment, and there were also exquisite people. Fiercely, who had always disliked Gu Fei, now happily changed his attitude and walked in front of Gu Fei. I didn't know that you were also quite amazing. Gu Fei still only smiled, expressing his gratitude for Fiercely's praise. Fiercely was rebuffed and walked away resentfully. July also felt that the atmosphere was a bit awkward and quickly continued, all right, this matter is over. Everyone can continue playing the game without worry. The girls clapped and then gathered to the side to continue gossiping about the legendary masked assassin. Thank you. July said solemnly as she walked in front of Gu Fei. Hee, it's nothing. Even though I'm only a temporary worker, I'm still a member of the guild. Of course we should protect each other. Gu Fei said with a smile. July didn't know what to say. They had never seen Gu Fei as a member of the guild, and it seemed like Gu Fei didn't see himself as a member of the guild either. But at this critical moment, the so-called temporary worker was the most useful person in the entire guild. Don't mind their attitude. They're just, July couldn't find the words to explain. It's nothing. Gu Fei said, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Go. July said. Gu Fei turned around and wanted to leave, but July suddenly called out to him. What's the matter? Gu Fei turned around. Where's your straw hat? Don't you always wear a straw hat? July asked. Gu Fei's heart skipped a beat, but he quickly replied, hey, I didn't know how to play before, so I didn't know that equipment can't be worn randomly. That thing isn't suitable for mages, so I've already thrown it away. Oh, I'm leaving. Gu Fei waved his hand and left the guild. What's the matter? Do you think Qianli is the masked assassin? After Gu Fei left, Luo came to July's side. I heard that the masked assassin also wore a straw hat, a mage's robe, and was level 30. Isn't this very similar to Qianli? July said. Indeed, in addition, Qianli also likes to use knives like that person. When he fought with Little Yu, he used a knife. Luo said. But Luo had just finished speaking when she continued, Qianli didn't hit Little Yu last time. If it wasn't for me, he would have already died once. He deliberately let Little Yu win. July asked. I can't tell. Luo replied. He couldn't even beat Little Yu, but he could so quickly take care of Non-Smiler. It really shouldn't be the same person. July said. Who knows, maybe the assassin also saw Qianli's funny appearance, so he deliberately dressed like this to hide his identity. Luo said. Then he really does have a sense of humor. July laughed. No matter what, the possibility of it being Qianli is quite high. Luo said. Yes. We'll definitely meet again in the future. July said. Gu Fei, who had left Amethyst, had already realized this problem. Due to his unconventional attire, people like July, Luo, and the others who had seen him before would probably guess it was him. What a helpless situation. It was better to find the Han family young master and the others to discuss it. Just as he was thinking, the Han family young master sent a message, how is it, assassin? Non-Smiler went offline. Gu Fei said. It's already the 10th time, you should rest. Hurry back to the tavern, there's something important. Han family young master said. What is it? Gu Fei asked. Splitting the money. Han family young master said. Oh, I'll be right there. Gu Fei said. In Little Ray's bar, the 5 of them sat in a circle, waiting for Gu Fei. There were 10 bulging money bags piled up on the table, like a small mountain. Open it and pour it out. Yutian Shinming's voice was a little shaky, 1,000 gold coins. It'll be a spectacular pile, I want to see. Useless. The other 4 scolded while gulping. How much did you earn from the last mission? Yutian Shinming asked. 210 gold coins, Qianli took 60 gold coins, we each took 30 gold coins. Han family young master said. There's actually so many this time. Rebirth Amethyst, these women are really rich. Imperial Sky God Ming said. How are we splitting it this time? Brother Yu asked. Qianli did put in a lot of effort this time. He takes half, and the 5 of us take the other half. What do you think? Han family young master asked. That's right. Sword Demon nodded. 500 gold coins. Yutian Shinming was at a loss. 100 gold coins isn't a small amount, be content. Unscathed in Battle said, we can finally change to a slightly better weapon. Brother Yu looked around, now in our group, Only Sword Demon's frostbite memories and Yutian's bright moon godly bow are of the highest quality. My bow isn't the highest quality, it's just a little higher than a normal bow. Sword Demon's is the highest quality, 30% lethality. If my bow had this attribute, I'd be invincible in the world. Yutian Shinming hooted. Be low-key, the king of assassins is right behind you. Unscathed in battle said as he patted Yutian Shinming. Yutian Shinming turned around and saw Gu Fei, who had already lifted the curtain and was standing behind him. Chapter 53. Ah! King of Assassins, you're back. Sit down, sit down. Yutian Shinming jumped up and shouted, giving his seat to Gu Fei. Gu Fei touched his head and smiled, good boy. Wow! That's a lot of money. Gu Fei noticed the money bags on the table as soon as he sat down. Qianli, how do you think we should split it? Han family young master asked with ulterior motives. As the saying goes, strangers the first time, familiarity the second. If last time, Gu Fei said that everyone was embarrassed to split it equally, then this time, they would definitely listen to him without hesitation. None of the people here were easy to deal with. It was just that Sword Demon was sometimes a little too serious. However, when Han family young master spoke, he already sent a look over. It was unknown if Sword Demon understood, but he didn't speak. Oh. I say. Facing their expectant eyes, Gu Fei started counting with his fingers, the target is non-smiler. He killed it a total of 10 times. I killed it 8 times, and Sword Demon killed it twice. There are 10 money bags here, so it should be 2 for Sword Demon and 8 for me, right? And, that's right. I support it. Top it. Sword Demon said. Back your head. The Han family young master was enraged. Using eyes to communicate is too outdated. Gu Fei laughed at Han family young master, we all use private messages. Fuck. You two bitches. Han family young master continued to scold. Forget it. Let's split it equally. You guys have worked hard for a day. Gu Fei said generously. I was waiting for you to say that. Yutian Shinming rushed up like a hungry tiger and took away the 2 money bags. The others also reached out their hands. Gu Fei felt a great sense of achievement again. At the same time, he was surprised that July and the other girls were really rich. Based on the current exchange rate of using RMB to buy equipment at the exchange, and then selling equipment at the auction house for in-game currency, 1 gold coin in the game was worth about 10 renminbi. After all, it was still the early stages of the game, and the production of gold coins was still quite low. Even RMB warriors were having a hard time saving up gold coins, because most of the equipment that players would bring to the exchange for sale were relatively expensive. After players bought this type of equipment with RMB, it would be very difficult for them to return to the game and sell it for game coins because the price was just too high. In such a situation, being able to save up 1,000 gold coins was really amazing. He must have bought a lot of low-priced equipment with RMB and sold it bit by bit for game currency to save up. It would be very difficult to complete this project without amazing willpower. When Gu Fei had enough of the aftertaste, he realized that there was no more money on the table. Hey, where's mine? Gu Fei slammed the table. Strange, why is it gone? Someone said. The intelligence specialist, Brother Yu, reminded, there are 6 of us, and the money was divided into 10 bags, pour it out and divide it equally. Gu Fei said. Even if you divide 1,000 by 6, it won't be enough. Everyone made a very troubled expression. Gu Fei was just about to explode when the group leader, Han family young master, said, no need. It's just right to divide it. Are you kidding me? I don't have a single cent. Gu Fei said. Have you forgotten? The young master of the Han family said unhurriedly, you drank here yesterday and spent 200 gold coins. That's the deposit for our business this time, and I've already paid for your drinks, 200 gold coins. What did you drink, Qianli? Everyone exclaimed. That's not right. That day, brother Yu and I drank a total of 4 cups, the money for the drinks should be. Huh, where's brother Yu? Where did brother Yu go? Gu Fei looked around. We have to get to the bottom of this, I'll go get him. Unscathed in battle stood up and went out. However, after waiting for a long time and not seeing anyone come back, Yutian Shinming slapped his thigh. Aya, these 2 old foxes must have colluded with each other, I'll go get them. The moment Yutian Shinming left, Han family young master stood up. Hey, don't go too far. All of you, come back. Just as he was about to walk out the door, a wave of heat suddenly swept past his face, and Han family young master hurriedly dodged. Gu Fei's fire baptism was already in front of the door. The saber is not bad. The Han family's young master smiled. I've cut it 8 times today just for not smiling. Gu Fei looked at his own knife and said, in NBA terms, the hand is burning hot, and the condition is surprisingly good. I don't believe you'll really cut me. Han family young master said. Of course not, but if you don't take out the money, don't think of leaving today. Gu Fei said. All right. Han family young master stretched and sat back in his seat. I won't leave then. Do you think my title as the god of wine is just for show? Little Ray, bring the wine. I want the most expensive, put it on young master's tab. Gu Fei added. I'm afraid of you. Bring 2 bottles. Han family young master shouted. Xiaolei quickly carried 2 bottles of wine in. This kind of business was not something that could be found often. 1 bottle was 120 gold coins, 2 bottles 240. Han family young master happily threw the money bag and laughed. Now I have no money, what can you do to me? Ha 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 ha. Let's fight to the bitter end. We'll all be poor. Gu Fei smiled faintly. His hand moved like lightning, and the 2 bottles of wine that had just been placed on the table were pulled into his arms. Hey, what are you doing? Are you eating alone? That's not very kind. Han family young master said. Gu Fei smiled brightly, and reached out his hand to stop Little Ray, who was about to leave after receiving the money. Little Ray, these 2 bottles of wine, I'll sell them to you for 100 gold coins each, okay? Little Ray was stunned, and so was Han family young master. You don't want such a good deal. Gu Fei said with a smile. Little Ray suddenly smiled, and let go of the 2 money bags. Gu Fei quickly caught them, and put the 2 bottles of wine into Little Ray's arms. Let's go. Gu Fei stood up, saluted Han family young master, and ran away as fast as he could. Fuck. 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 Han family young master roared as if he had just woken up from a dream. The players outside the room heard him and asked curiously, Little Ray, your pub has started to provide erotic services. Forget it. Sword Demon comforted Han family young master, I'll treat you to a drink. Good brother. Han family young master patted Sword Demon's shoulder, Little Ray, don't ask for the most expensive one. Sword Demon stuck his dagger on the table, and said slowly, 240 gold coins for 2 bottles, I don't have enough money. Give me 2 bottles of the second most expensive wine. Han family young master shouted. That night, the legendary god of wine Han family young master drank and cried, he's really an assassin. After leaving the pub, Gu Fei went to the leveling area to kill some monsters. Just like what he had experienced before, the uncontrollable high and low damage of the baptism of flames greatly affected his rhythm. He encountered many dangerous situations when dealing with several NPCs. After all, this time, no one would shout, don't kill, capture him alive. In this regard, Gu Fei could solve this problem by changing to a weapon that didn't have this enchantment probability. However, he didn't do so. Because to him, this was a rare opportunity to train. In the game, there was no training on the body, because the body's reaction, strength, and other things were not determined by humans, but by the game data. The training in the game could be said to be concentrated in the brain. When faced with certain situations, what was the most appropriate solution to deal with them? Counterattack or dodge? Which enemy should he counterattack? Which direction should he move into dodge? These were all decisions that needed to be made in an instant. How to choose the most correct and most effective path from the many choices? Some people said that it was based on intuition. That's right, but intuition was also divided into two types. One was called talent, and the other was called experience. Gu Fei didn't dare to say that he was very talented. After all, he wouldn't encounter such a situation in real life, but at least he could accumulate a lot of experience. The eye chased the hand, and the hand chased the eye. The eye actually referred to the observation, judgment, and decision made in an instant. This could be practiced both in and out of the game. However, outside the game, Gu Fei wouldn't have so many opportunities to practice. As for the hand, it could only be used to train the body outside the game. In the game, it relied on attribute points and equipment, which was much simpler. At this time, Gu Fei's killing efficiency was slightly lower, and he could die if he was the slightest bit careless. If it were any other player, they wouldn't choose to continue in such a situation. However, Gu Fei was different. After all, his goal in the game was completely different from ordinary players. From his point of view, the value of this kind of practice was more important than quickly leveling up a few more points. The fluctuating attack damage caused Gu Fei's originally stable attack rhythm to have to adjust from time to time according to this 30% enchantment rate. Killing monsters became interesting and full of variables. Of course, this was only for Gu Fei. If it were an ordinary player, they would either choose to kill monsters one by one or change their equipment. They wouldn't continue to take such risks. After farming for more than an hour, Gu Fei ended his gaming life for the day. But the legend that he had created continued. Before Gu Fei had finished hunting down Non-Smiler, this matter had already made its way to the game's forums. As the pursuit progressed, it was constantly updated, and finally stopped at 10 times. Today's act of hunting someone down by 10 levels caused a heated discussion among the players. In the end, there were differing opinions. The players who were extremely passionate about PvP naturally didn't approve of this kind of behavior. They only had one opinion: awesome. As for the players who were deeply worried about everything, they had many worries about this. What nourishment of violence! The game had become a one-sided PvP arena. They even began to worry that this would lead to a decline in the game company's revenue, a problem that they didn't need to worry about at all. Most of them just wanted to watch the show. After they knew that today's pursuit had ended because Non-Smiler had gone offline, they eagerly looked forward to the day when Non-Smiler would come back online and be hunted again. In any case, there were two things that the players agreed on. First, this killer was really OP. They heard that he was only a mage, but he had used melee combat to cut a thief to this state. He was definitely OP. Second, this Non-Smiler was stupid. Everyone knew that he was being hunted, and he wasn't a match for the enemy, but he didn't hurry to go offline and hide. Instead, he let someone cut him down by 10 levels. He was definitely stupid. Chapter 54. After logging off, Gu Fei suddenly felt a little tired. With the amount of time Gu Fei spent playing the game every day, any normal person wouldn't find it tiring. It could be seen that Gu Fei had a very fulfilling day. The constant pursuit on horseback, the intense battle after switching to fire baptism, and the high level of concentration caused Gu Fei's mental exhaustion to be several times greater than usual. Now that he had left the game, he couldn't help but feel tired as soon as his nerves relaxed. Being an expert in the game was also very tiring. Gu Fei, Sword Demon, and the others fought day and night in the game. Otakus like them definitely couldn't compare to his body. It was hard for them to play the game so hard every day. After resting for a night, Gu Fei wasn't in a hurry to go online the next day. Instead, He casually browsed the official forums. It couldn't be denied that Gu Fei was an expert in fighting, but he was still a noob in other areas. After all, he was just a newbie. Fire baptism was an effective supplement to his attacks, and it also provided a good training environment for him. But at a critical moment, the random enchantment attacks were a bit troublesome. Gu Fei wanted to see if there was a way to increase the enchantment rate to 100%. If that was the case, Gu Fei could be said to be a stable high-damage killer. However, it was a pity that the current research on enchantments in the game was focused on the deceleration of frost damage or the numbness of lightning damage. As for fire enchantments, because melee classes were poor in mana, it was better to choose poison damage than fire magic. The amount of poison damage depended on the equipment and had nothing to do with mana. Moreover, it could continuously reduce health. As long as the equipment wasn't too bad, it could easily exceed fire damage. There was another important reason: enchantment damage had a prerequisite: it had to be a normal attack. When using a character's skills to attack, the enchantment on the weapon would automatically be frozen. Normal leveling didn't matter, but in a real difficult battle, such as PK or challenging a boss, skills were the key to victory. Therefore, enchantments that purely dealt damage like fire magic were even less valuable and were directly viewed as trash by players. Of course, no one would research trash items. Gu Fei rummaged around but didn't find any useful information. He only knew that apart from weapons, rings, necklaces, and badges could also have a chance of having an enchantment attribute. In addition to weapons, there were head, body, belt, shoes, as well as 2 rings, 1 necklace, and 1 badge. There were a total of 9 parts. Gu Fei's 2 fingers and neck were still empty, showing that the drop rate of accessories was relatively low. As for Gu Fei's straw hat and boots, they weren't too bad, but they weren't suitable for mages. Which was why the Han family young master and mocked them. After some research, Gu Fei felt that he could go and see if there were any fire magic accessories that he could buy. In addition, he really should change into a more approachable outfit that didn't have such a strong personality. After looking at these things, Gu Fei returned to the forum's main page. He found the most popular sticker on the forum: Cloud City Close Combat Mage, 10 steps to kill a man, Qianli won't stay. When the deed is done, leave with a brush of the robe. Gu Fei's heart tightened and he quickly clicked on it. Sure enough, this was the report of Gu Fei's pursuit of Non-Smiler in Cloud City yesterday. The cause of the incident had been dug out by experienced gossipers with keen senses. But this wasn't the main point. The main point was the process of Non-Smiler being killed 10 times. All the information was gathered from eyewitnesses from all over the place. If Gu Fei commented on it, it was basically true. The debate about the incident was mainly focused on 2 aspects. The first was the moral aspect. This was the topic that had been the hottest topic since yesterday's incident on the forum. Gu Fei casually scanned through a few opinions and didn't think much of it. In this matter, Gu Fei didn't feel guilty at all. Non-Smiler lied to July 1st. Later on, he was tricked by Shi Xiaotian, who was a fan of trickery, on his own initiative. It had nothing to do with July. And now, in this game, Non-Smiler had started to harass July. Coincidentally, such a lousy fellow had become Gu Fei's business partner. Gu Fei naturally had no qualms about killing him. These few posts in the forum were not enough to affect Gu Fei's mental state at all. After that, the discussion was about the technical aspect. A mage chasing down a thief in close combat sounded like a fantasy no matter how one listened to it. The players watching the live broadcast were not in vain. One post opened a portal and led everyone to a specialized post on researching Gu Fei's skills. As soon as the post appeared, it included a full set of Gu Fei's equipment. It was obvious that countless people had used identification on Gu Fei. But soon, the next few posts went off topic. Everyone started to discuss where Eddie's coat of arms came from. A single attribute plus 6, a total of 5 attributes would add up to 30. This was currently the best equipment with additional attributes. Gu Fei's heart skipped a beat. Fortunately, he had seen this post. Otherwise, Eddie's coat of arms would have been enough to tell everyone who the masked killer was. Based on the people he knew in the game, July and the other girls should have used identification on him. If they saw this post again, his identity would have been exposed. But they probably wouldn't say anything. That was the only thing Gu Fei could think of. If word got out, Gu Fei and the players who had been chasing him for several streets had to admit that it would be troublesome. Gu Fei calmed himself down and continued to read. After a few more posts, the post returned to the main topic and began to discuss Gu Fei's skills and tactics. Due to the information provided by the audience, the characteristics of Gu Fei's character were obvious: agility and magic damage. His high speed and magic damage allowed Gu Fei to finish off the rogue, Unsmiler, in an instant. Then, many experts began to analyze the character's potential. Everyone had their own opinions and argued endlessly. Gu Fei noticed a comment by a user called Strange Pupil. This guy thought that it was a coincidence that Gu Fei could kill Unsmiler. The rogue focused on strength and was suppressed by an agility mage. At the same time, the rogue had low HP and was vulnerable to the mage's physical damage and magic damage. If the rogue was a character with high HP or a higher speed, the outcome would be uncertain. Moreover, very few players wore magic resistance equipment at this stage of the game. If they did, then they would be able to greatly weaken the magic resistance that focused on enchantments. In addition, Strange Pupil also mentioned a detail that not many people paid attention to. Although Unsmiler had been killed a total of 10 times, so far, the first time was when he was at his strongest state, level 30. No one seemed to have seen how he was killed. The second time was when Unsmiler was at level 29. It was a rogue who assassinated him. After Unsmiler lost 2 levels, the mage began to attack. Did this mean that even when Unsmiler was at his peak, the mage was not so confident in killing him? This analysis could be considered reasonable and well-founded. If it was done by an ordinary player, it would be completely reasonable. However, for Gu Fei, he had overlooked the fact that Gu Fei knew Kung Fu. After all, Gu Fei had killed Unsmiler in 2 or 3 attacks. It was difficult to see the real skill of Kung Fu if one was not an expert. After reading all the replies, Gu Fei was quite disappointed. He had hoped that there would be a comprehensive study of his character in this post. In the end, just like all such posts, it went from discussions, to arguments, to insults, and finally to nothing. Gu Fei still had to figure out how to make a path suitable for himself as a mage. After exiting the forum, Gu Fei logged into the game. The first thing he did when he came online was to remove Eddie's coat of arms. There was too much attention on his masked identity. What if someone on the street used identify on him? His identity would be exposed immediately. Gu Fei walked quickly to the auction house, trying to buy a common outfit to disguise himself. However, the auction house was a little strange today. Gu Fei could not do anything inside, and the few NPCs working there refused to talk to him. Gu Fei did not know what was going on. He tried again and was very busy. Suddenly, someone patted him on the shoulder. "What are you doing here?" Gu Fei hurriedly turned around and saw Brother Yu. He had coincidentally met an expert, so he hurriedly asked. Brother Yu stared at him, dumbfounded. "We were wondering why you were so crazy. So you don't know the rules of PK?" "Why?" Gu Fei asked quickly. Brother Yu explained, "Every time you kill a player in the game, you will accumulate 1 PK point. At first, some NPCs will stop serving you, and you will lose 2 levels. When your PK point reaches 10, all NPCs in the city will stop serving you, and you will lose 3 levels. When your PK point reaches 20, NPC guards and patrols will hunt you down, and you will lose 4 levels if you die and 2 levels if they catch you. You will also have to go to jail. When your PK point reaches 30, NPCs will kill you on the spot, and you will lose 5 levels. Then what do I do now?" Gu Fei was dumbfounded. You should be below 20 points right now. You can turn yourself in and go to jail, and you will lose 1 PK point every hour. Or you can just float outside by yourself, and you will lose 1 PK point every 2 hours. Brother, you said. Who would choose to go to jail? Isn't it just that I can't buy things? What's the big deal? Gu Fei said. Brother, you nodded. It seems that there is something even more important that you don't know. What is it? There is a type of quest in the game called Wanted Quest. It refreshes once a day, and the target is a player with PK points. It can be collected as an individual or as a mercenary group, and the reward is based on the PK points of the culprit. You were in the limelight yesterday, so you will definitely be at the top of today's Wanted Quest list. Gu Fei was dumbfounded. He didn't think that fighting in the game would cause so much trouble. Chapter 55. If I'm on this wanted list, won't my identity be exposed? Gu Fei said. As long as you don't get caught, that's fine. Brother, you said. Won't my name be announced? Gu Fei asked. It won't. Brother, you shook his head. The people listed on the wanted list all have a number. Right now, your name is a wanted criminal number XXXX. So it's like that, players who have accepted the wanted mission will have their coordinates updated every 5 minutes. So, as long as you calculate the time and move every 5 minutes, it won't be easy for the other side to find you. Brother, you said. That makes sense. Then I'll hurry up and get going. Gu Fei looked at the time. It had already been 5 minutes since he went online. What do you want to buy? I'll help you. Brother, you walked towards the auction house's trade window. Oh, give me a level 30 robe that a mage should wear. Then, see if there's a necklace, ring, or emblem that increases the probability of fire magic attacks. Give me one of each. Gu Fei said. Brother, you expressionlessly left the trade window. It's getting late, let's hurry up and get going. Gu Fei, the two of them walked out of the auction house and quickly headed out of the city. They hadn't walked far when they heard a flurry of footsteps behind them. When they turned around, they saw several players rushing towards the auction house. They can't be coming for me. Gu Fei said in shock. It looks like it. Brother, you said. There's quite a few people. Gu Fei said. Turn yourself in. Brother, you said calmly. Don't. Gu Fei said. Then you should still cover your face. With so many people, it's hard to say if someone with sharp eyes won't notice your existence. Right now, you're marked with a number in their eyes. It's obvious. Brother, you said. Alright, let's hurry up and get out of the city. There are too many people in the city, it's troublesome. Gu Fei quickly ran out of the city. Brother, you couldn't keep up with Gu Fei's speed at all. He could only shout from behind, be careful. Gu Fei waved at him without turning his head. Brother, you returned to the auction house alone. Many players were searching the place, and new soldiers would occasionally arrive. Brother, you felt that he had underestimated the severity of the situation. He did not expect Gu Fei to attract so many people to pursue him. The curiosity of humans is truly terrifying. After leaving the auction house, Brother, you contacted the Han family young master and the others. Everyone was shocked when they heard the news. What? That guy doesn't know the PK rules. This trash. Let's have a meeting. As the guild leader, the Han family young master first criticized Gu Fei, then called everyone to meet at the usual place of Little Ray's bar. At the same time, Unstoppable 4 Cs, Feng Xing, was running to find their guild leader, Sword Without Oath. Here's our chance. The gate of Unstoppable 4 Cs was almost blown away by Feng Xing. Sword Without Oath was chatting with a few pretty girls in the guild when he was suddenly interrupted by Feng Xing. He frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, "How many times have I told you? Stay calm and don't panic. The masked killer is on the wanted list." Feng Xing shouted. He killed a non-smiler so many times, of course he's on the wanted list. Sword Without Oath said blandly, continuing to show his calmness in front of the girls. Let's go, I'll go with you. Sword Without Oath waved his hand and said goodbye to the girls. He calmly walked out of the guild and gently closed the door. He turned around and said, "Holy shit. Why is he on the wanted list? He killed a non-smiler so many times, didn't he turn himself in and go to jail? If everyone chases him, won't his identity be exposed? What's the point of wearing a mask? Feng Xing, say it." Sword Without Oath's impatient look was completely different from when he was in the guild. I don't know either. I just heard that there's a criminal with a PK value of 15. I don't think there's anyone else other than this guy. Quick, let's go take a look. Sword Without Oath strode towards the wanted list. The wanted list was filled with people. Unsworn Sword swept his gaze across the crowd and saw many of the leaders of Cloud City's other guilds. Sword Without Oath could guess what these people were thinking. They just wanted to make friends with this ruthless person and pull him into their guild. In fact, Sword Without Oath had this plan in mind, but there was no need to think too much about it. With so many people, it was still uncertain who would end up in their hands. Sword Without Oath turned his head and searched the wanted list. The masked killer's information was at the top, PK value 15, number 27149. The people who were still in the hall were not in a hurry to accept the quest. They all thought that Gu Fei would turn himself in. The place to turn himself in was also this hall, so these people stared at the players entering and exiting. When they saw that it was a mage, their eyes lit up, followed by a look of disappointment. No wonder he didn't turn himself in. Turning himself in is a dead end, Sword Without Oath muttered to himself. There were many mages entering and exiting, but number 27149 was still at the top. In a corner of the hall, July, Luo, and Fiercely were also watching the flow of people in front of them. Ah, it must be him. Beginner's robe. Fiercely pointed at a player for the 17th time and shouted. Luo used an appraisal spell and sighed, fiercely. Experts don't have to be handsome, that's just your wishful thinking. Don't say that every handsome mage is. The one you pointed at is only level 12. Oh, how long have we been here? July asked. Almost half an hour, Luo said. Could it be that this person doesn't intend to turn himself in? July said the truth. It can't be. His PK value is 15, then he'll be floating outside for 30 hours and won't go offline in the middle. If he wants to go offline, he'll be discovered on the way back. As long as it's a player who has accepted the quest, they can attack him even in the safe zone, Luo said. Then why hasn't he shown himself? July glanced at the wanted list. Maybe he expected that there would be a lot of people waiting for him to turn himself in, so he's purposely waiting there. Luo said. Oh. Then let's wait a bit more. Everyone held this kind of thought and patiently waited until an hour had passed. This. It's a cleric. Fiercely pointed at a person and began to shout. Luo followed Fiercely's gaze and her eyes lit up. Luo lightly pulled the two of them and pointed at that person, whispering into their ears, "This person is the Han family young master." The young master of the Han family walked one round in the mission hall before quickly leaving. Luo pulled July and Fiercely and quietly followed behind him. Han family young master walked very slowly. After crossing 2 streets, he came to a place where there was no one and suddenly turned around. The 3 girls quickly hid in a corner. What are you hiding for? Come out, there are people watching you from behind. Han family young master shouted. Don't move, he's definitely lying. Fiercely said. He's not lying. A clear voice sounded from behind the 3 of them. The 3 girls were dumbfounded. Fiercely looked back and was even more confused. Did you hear someone talking? July already stood up and looked at the air behind her and sighed. It's a thief, he's hiding behind us. Can you come out now? Han family young master continued to shout. The three girls helplessly walked out of the corner. Fiercely punched and kicked behind him, but didn't hit anything. You're really careful. You even put an eye behind you. Luo said. Han family young master ignored her and only coldly said, our deal seems to have ended yesterday. It's ended, but there might be new deals to do. Luo said. We're not free right now. Han family young master said. Oh, what are you busy with? Luo asked. Han family young master smiled, what do you think? This started because of us, if you need any help, we won't refuse. July said sincerely. Miss, you've already paid us for everything we've done for you, and the price is very reasonable, so we don't owe each other anything. Right now, it's completely our own business, you don't need to worry about it. Put away your curiosity, and quickly go back. Han family young master said and turned around, preparing to leave. Han family young master. Fiercely suddenly shouted. Han family young master stopped his footsteps. We know your name, and we know what you look like, aren't you afraid that we'll tell others about you? Fiercely shouted. Fiercely. July and Luo clearly didn't expect Fiercely to say that. Are you threatening me? Han family young master turned his head. No, what I meant was, if you can let us know your identity, why can't you let us meet other people? We'll definitely keep it a secret. Fiercely said. Han family young master smiled, and pointed at July, ask your president. Maybe she'll understand my thoughts. Chiyue was stunned. Don't follow me anymore. I don't have a good temper, and my mood isn't good either, so I'll fall out easily. Lastly, a friendly reminder, don't think of accepting the mission to see this person's true face, he's very cruel, and never soft-hearted, to everyone. He's a real killer. Han family young master said the last few words with gritted teeth, filled with resentment, and left without turning his head back. What kind of person is this, he's too full of himself. Fiercely scolded. Miss, it's not good to speak behind someone's back. Someone said in the air. Why is there someone else? Fiercely stomped his feet angrily, quickly scram, you peeping Tom. Fiercely waved his fists and legs at the air. Let's go Fiercely. July came up and pulled Fiercely away. Should we accept the mission, Sister July? Luo asked. Yes. July said decisively, but we're not going to see his true face, but to see if there's anything we can help with. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.